Welcome to the Cherry Picker, the horror movie podcast where we like to kill people, but not really. I'm your host, Zach Cherry. Co-host sitting with me right over here is
Tim McKay.
of Tim
Hello,
K
hello.
Beauty.
Of Tim McKay Beauty,
I,
yes.
I did it for you that time.
Thank you,
And
thank you.
and today we are talking about Scream 4, released April 15th, 2011. This is all part of our revisiting of the Scream franchise, or I guess really your first time to talk over the Scream franchise and become acclimated to the cherry
Mm-hmm.
picker. And all in service of that, and because we've got the release of Scream 7, which is very nigh here. I believe as of like right now, it is 25 days away.
Because it comes out the 27th, right?
It comes at, well, just for context, we are recording this on February 2nd. So I think the general public will hear it on the 3rd. So 24 days, if you're not
But
with us right now.
I just think it's a very exciting day because we have Scream coming out and we also have Resident Evil 9 coming out for any
Ooh.
gaming fans out there. I'm super excited. So I can't wait for the 27th. Granted, I'll probably see it on the
Yeah.
26th because I think it's coming out probably the Thursday, the 26th. So
Well,
let's
you
be real,
gotta like you
you
gotta
know.
go. And obviously, you go see the movie the Thursday night. Like that's
Oh yeah.
because yeah, it'll be spoiled that night if you don't otherwise, because that's just the way people are. And then you just stay home all Friday and play Resident Evil 9.
There
It's
you go.
called Requiem, right?
Yes, I'm so excited. I've
Mm,
already seen some gameplay, but I'm more excited for Scream 7. I don't know how
yeah.
you feel personally, but I know the trailer just dropped today, the next trailer. So,
I okay, yeah. I obviously we're talking about Scream here, but I just have one question. Who is the like
yeah.
the character? Because I haven't researched a lot in of Resident Evil 9. So are you like playing as Leon
So
again?
yeah, so Leon is back. Fan
Yeah.
favorite Leon is back. He's like middle-aged now. But the game will also be going between him and this girl or woman,
Yeah.
Claire. I'm not sure how old
Claire.
she is, but I know she's like, yeah, someone from like one of the previous games from like way back in the day. It's like her daughter.
Mm,
And so you'll be going back and forth because it wants it to be like Resident Evil 2 when you play as her, where it's kind of like you have the fear and you're like
okay.
and you're slowly walking through the like this
Is
big building, and then like when you play as
yeah.
Leon, it's more like Resident Evil 4, where it's more like action
So her
packed.
name is Claire, like Claire Redfield. Like, is it just like Claire's
Wait,
daughter?
is it not? I don't, maybe I'm. Wait, it can't
Yeah,
be
because
Claire.
it can't
It
be
can't be
Claire. Because
Claire.
Claire and Leon is Resident Evil
What
2.
is her name? Shoot.
Someone will know. Someone will know in the chat. Which, by the way, we've got the live stream
New
chat happening
character
here.
in
So
RE9.
yeah, thank you everyone for being here to
Grace.
brace.
Grace, not
Thank
Claire.
you everyone for gracing us with your presence in the chat. If you are a Patreon supporter here, appreciate you guys being here and discussing Scream 4 and a little bit of Scream 7. I want to talk about where things are going right now with like 24 days left before the release of the
Hmm.
movie and what's been going on, because there hasn't been a second trailer, and I don't think that there will be, but there's been a plethora of TV spots, and now there's the Super Bowl ad, which is about a minute
Yes.
long. So it's like technically a second trailer. And that I think that came out today. So
Yeah.
yeah, what are we thinking about that?
I'm excited. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited. I am keeping, the Tim and optimism. I'm like I'm I'm like really looking forward to it. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun and yeah, I can't wait, honestly.
I noticed that. Okay, so I'm not as excited as you are.
I
I've like
know.
really I've
Let's
set
talk
my
about it.
expectations very low for this movie. I don't want to be a hater. Like, I want this to do well. I want it to be a good movie.
Hmm.
I want Kevin Williamson to prove to us that, like, this is his franchise. And I don't know, like I was of two minds of like the marketing before all this, where it felt like, okay, this is like being really undermarketed, but in like in the same way, that's kind of nice for us because we're not being completely spoiled about things. There's like so much that we haven't seen. And th like whatever the Super Bowl spot was, it's like there's at least like five deaths that are like I don't even know if they're deaths, but just like character like attacks maybe, but are just like very clearly shown to us. And like,
Hmm.
you know, like that's never a guarantee that someone is not the killer or that they won't be killed because like obviously look at like throughout the like in Scream 4, Jill getting attacked, you know, all
Yeah.
just being this like subterfuge to draw attention away from that person as a suspect. But I don't even want to know any of that. Like I felt that you know, for whatever they were going to do, that was enough. But now I feel like there's X number of characters that I can be like, okay, dead, 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 or at the very least, like maybe they're doing the April Fool's Day thing that Kevin Williamson, I guess, initially wanted to do with three, where everyone is like fake killed, and then they all show up at the end and they're like, no, we're not actually dead, we're all the killers, and this was like a giant trick to fool you.
I don't like that at all. I really hope
Yeah.
that's not the case. I don't like a fake like April Fool's ending. Like same with that movie Cry Wolf that came out. I remember I was so excited for that
Oh
movie
God.
and I like loved the idea of it. Like and then oops, I guess spoiler, but like it has a very similar ending to April
Yeah.
Fool's Day. And it's ass. And so I don't like a fake ending like, oh no, it was all just a trick. Like I don't like that.
I feel like we need to cover Cry Wolf now at some point just to air all
Yeah.
that dirty laundry. I noticed that
Cry
like
shit.
Crush. I noticed that Anna Camp has not been featured in any trailer or TV spot at all. Same
I
with
know.
Ethan Embry. Like his character has just not appeared in anything. So don't
Ethan
know what that's
Embry.
about. Ethan Embry
Oh
is
yes.
he was in
Grace and Frankie, that guy.
yeah, I guess something more contemporary. I've not watched that, but when I think of Ethan Embry, I think of um, Can't Hardly Wait with Jennifer Love Hewitt and Seth Green,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think of Empire Records. I think of National Lampoon's Vegas Vacation. I think he played the son in that. They always like alternate the actors for the kids in those movies, uh, which is which is funny to me. And then he was also in that movie Vacancy from
Oh yeah.
2000 and something.
Yes, with oh my God, that's right. With our girl from
Luke
Underworld.
Wilson and Luke
Yes.
Wilson,
And
Billy, not
Kate.
Billy Loomis.
I
Yeah.
I I remember you didn't like that movie, right? I liked that movie. I liked it.
No, I really don't.
I think it's fun. I don't know. I like a motel setting. I love
Yeah,
that kind of like I love a motel. I actually just love motels.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
He's in Sweet Home Alabama playing Dutch, says Stephanie. By the way, Davy B. Jones loved Cry Wolf when he was a kid, but rewatching it, I wonder what I liked about it. Maybe we'll talk about it one day. Um, Amethyst, Sydney's bloodline is seriously poisoned if there's a third family member trying to kill her.
It can't be. That'd be so
Yeah.
silly. That would be so silly if her daughter ends up being.
If they do like a Jill situation again here with her.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Which I don't think they can because in the trailer, like she's getting stabbed through the wall. And so, well, she's not getting
Well, that's,
stabbed, but the killer's stabbing at her. So I feel like that'd
yeah.
be a huge risk to take if they were like both killers and
Yeah.
she's like, you literally can't see me.
Unless they just have like a death wish or whatever. Just, you know, like go on. Like it's
Mm.
just like just do it. You'll get me, but if you do, it'll be one for
If I
the
die in the
ages.
process, it's for the
Yeah.
art of it
Mhm.
all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, like at least that's like sort of giving us a different psychological spin on who the killers are, if that's the case. I hope it's just two. I don't want one. I don't want three or four or five or whatever the situation is. Two is the perfect number as far as I'm concerned.
I know. I feel like when it gets too many, and I felt this way too in that Chucky show, like when all the dolls came to life. I just feel like when there's
Mm,
too many killers, sometimes it just gets too overwhelming.
yeah.
Yeah, I like there to be a
Yeah.
condensed, definitely more
Uh,
than one though.
yeah, Davy B. Jones is saying, please don't bring back Stu, which, okay, so there's also been a new poster that was released, which is kind of like a callback. Like we were talking about this, like why don't they make one that's more traditional of like what Scream is? And they've made one now, and it's I guess it's Nev, and she's got like a knife, but she's not screaming. Like it's not the Drew Barrymore original poster. It
Hmm.
just kind of looks like do you remember the character posters for Scream 6 where everyone had the knife in front of their face?
Yes, of
So
course.
it's like essentially they just took that image of Sydney and then like kind of photoshopped it into this like colorless like gray thing with like the dark black background and then like did the like Scream 7 and you have like the names underneath. I don't know, it's not doing it for me, but I hate everything, so no surprise there. But it has like the cast listing. Like it doesn't have every name on there, but it does have Matthew Lillard's name featured in
Does
like
it?
among the 6 or 7
Well,
that are
well
there.
he's definitely used because we hear his voice, so like no matter what,
Yeah.
he's in the film. But to what degree, I guess we'll
Yeah.
find out.
Yeah. Do you think that he's still alive?
I feel like if they do that,
Do do.
it's if they do that,
Yeah.
it's just purely fan service at this point. Because I know that
Yeah.
Wes Craven wanted to do that for the third movie, but I feel like that would have worked because it's like the amount of time that would have passed that would have
Yeah.
made sense. Whereas by this point, it's been like 100,000 years, and like if he's been in hiding this whole time, it's just kind of like get
It's
over
like
it.
it's like Laurie Strode Halloween 2018. Like I've been waiting
That's
for
him.
this
Yeah,
moment for 30 years. It's like he's just hanging out in a bunker waiting for Sydney to show up with like a
filthy as can
shotgun.
be.
Yeah.
Absolutely, gray
Yeah.
hair, like a messy gray hair out to all extreme.
Yeah.
Um, I love it.
Absolutely. And I want to
That
see
will be
like
him.
podcasters come over and just like interview him and he's like, "You don't believe in the ghost face?"
You don't believe
Yeah.
the
Like
legend
with
of the ghost.
podcasters and yeah. Um no, I don't know. I think he's dead. I think it's all just trickery. It's all just smoke
Yeah.
and mirrors.
I mean, that seems like the theme in so many movies right now is AI, and so I hope they don't go too
Mm,
hard into an AI theme. I hope that's
mm.
not like I hope that's not the ghost face of this movie. Imagine it.
It just turns
There
out the
is no
ghost
ghost
face
face.
is
It's just all
it's
AI
just AI, yeah.
somehow.
Um
Yeah, no, but I think it might be something to do with that.
but if it is, then maybe that does give credence to a theory that they are all faking their deaths because it's just sort of like
Mm,
it's a
that would be
fake
so silly and
idea. Like
dumb.
it's just a concept. I mean, at this point in like I think continuing on with anything Scream related is silly and dumb because I'm just gonna show my hand here. It's like I feel it's run its course in a way. Like
Yeah.
I appreciate that there's more content and we still get to enjoy these movies, but I know in my heart of hearts that it's never going to justify itself or be as good as it was in the glory days of the franchise. So it's just more stuff to watch and then bitch about or whatever and you know
I mean, I guess I'm just happy that like as far as slashers go, it is one that I enjoy. I enjoy the characters. So, and it's not like I don't think that they're I don't I don't think they're ruining it. Like I don't think that there's a really bad horror like Scream movie. I think that like there's things that we don't like about 5 and 6, but I still feel like as far it's not like some of the Jason movies or like some of the Nightmare on Elm Streets that get kind of like wonky. Like I feel like there's none that are on that level. So I'm still excited, and I think that it could be a lot of fun in a different kind of way.
yeah.
It feels like a very low key fun, like having fun in your friend's basement kind of fun. Like that's what this movie feels
Yeah.
like.
I mean, I think that like I'm just gonna push back a little on that like Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street analogy there because I feel that like I understand what you're saying, but those are also like bad movies of a different era. And I feel
Yeah.
like now in like the 2020s, there's a new bad that I consider to be bad because I've heard that saying a lot. Like people would be like, there is no bad Scream movie. And I mean, I beg to differ a little because there's just obviously I'm not a fan of 5 and 6, and those definitely like have depreciated in value for me over time. But I think that I would much rather watch, for instance, Jason. Takes Manhattan over Scream 6. And I have
Really?
like, yeah, there are so many
Oh.
things about like Jason Takes Manhattan that I don't like. I think that it's the longest movie in that franchise, I believe, at least of
Hmm.
like the Paramount run. All the stuff like once they get to New York, it really suffers. But like the things on the boat earlier, like that's a lot of fun. I think that there's still pockets of things that I really enjoy in the movie, and I think that in terms of like capturing the New York of it all, they actually went to Times Square and they filmed. Uh, in that location. Whereas Scream 6 never really committed to the New York of it all. There's nothing in there that like inherently feels like it belongs to New York. So
Mm.
of that gimmick of just sort of like we're going to the Big Apple, I think that Jason Takes Manhattan is a movie that I feel will probably outlive Scream 6. I think it'll continue to remain relevant. I think Scream 6 will kind of drop off after a while, and people will still watch Jason Takes Manhattan more than they do with Scream 6. That's just my thought.
That's cool. I
Yeah.
I disagree. I would rather watch Scream 6 any day of the week
Yeah.
before Jason Takes Manhattan. I think because I was so let down that more of the movie isn't in Manhattan, that a lot of it's on this boat.
Yeah.
Um and and yeah, it has that kind of 80s acting, which is cool. I like it a lot, but I think it came out in the 80s, right? Or was that in the
It
90s?
came out in 89.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is cool. I appreciate it for what it was, but I because really besides the ending of Scream 6, I liked Scream 6. I just don't like the whole third act pretty much
Yeah.
and like where it goes. I think if it had turned out better, then it would have. I love how we're not talking
Yeah.
about Scream 4 at all.
Well,
But
no, because we're talking about Scream 7 in a way. And it did segue into to Scream 6, but it's like Scream 6 was like a real precursor for like that shifted my perspective of where the franchise was going because it's very clear that at least like for Spyglass or Paramount, what a Scream movie is to them is very different from kind of like where the franchise started. And I think that like the newer movies like definitely capture the surface details of what Scream is supposed to be. It
mhm.
just doesn't have the essence of it. And
Mm.
um, actually, this is like really interesting, and then, like I'll say this, and then we can like move along. But this new movie came out, released same day as the Send Help, the new Sam Raimi, called Iron Lung. Have you heard of
Yes.
this?
I have heard of it and I've
Yeah,
watched a few reviews about it from YouTubers that I like,
yeah.
but I'm not gonna see it.
It doesn't like the premise of it and all that like doesn't sound like it is in my wheelhouse, but what is interesting about this movie is that it is like entirely self funded and distributed. So what like the filmmaker, the director who's like acted in it as well, I believe, had the money, so had like $3 million is the budget, made the movie, and then rather than going to like try to sell it to a studio to distribute it, they just decided, okay, we're going to find a way to get this to people instead. And the thing with that is that movie theater chains like work almost exclusively with like the major studios like Paramount to have their movies there. So what ends up
Hmm.
happening, like this is why a film will have its budget. It's like this is like the Matt Damon example that he always explains. If you make a movie that's $25 million, you then have to add $25 million for the marketing campaign. The exhibitors, so the movie theaters, take 50% of what the movies make. So that means that that movie will have to gross at least $100 million on a $25 million budget to break even. And then everything after that is where you start making money. So that's why studios, like the big studios, don't distribute anything that's like mid-range anymore. They're either doing these things like these big franchises or these like huge like Marvel movies, or it'll be like a much smaller budget, couple $1 million thing because it's the safer way to go. It's either just like it's not a risk or this has a built-in audience. And even now there's like big movies that they spend millions and hundreds of millions of dollars on that are not making their return back. So it's kind of gotten to a point where people are saying that the studio system is kind of flawed and it's going to collapse upon itself. So what the filmmaker here did is that they just kind of got people to request to theaters that they wanted to see this movie here. And it just sort of by word of mouth and like supply and demand, theaters started to show this movie and they ended up making $20 million this past weekend, like in their first weekend
Oh
on a $3
wow.
million budget. And none of that, like nothing for marketing, no money put into that. So it's like that is a profit of like $17 million in one weekend for this movie, which is crazy. And the same thing happened with Terrifier 3, because they didn't market it like through like any big studio or anything. So they did have the built-in fan base with the first two movies. So that's like that's the caveat here is like you have to have the the demand to get the
Hmm.
supply. But that's the thing. It's like we're gonna start to see if this works, if this is a system that's proven, we're gonna start to see more filmmakers make like more original and versatile content rather than like what the studios typically do, which is just recycle the same thing over and over again and then put out trailers that spoil the whole fucking thing. And I think that people will be like find that more appealing than like streaming because like the quality of streaming has gotten so bad lately that it's just I think people are naturally going to want to like gravitate towards this way of doing things. So I think that it actually could change things. Like it's just the industry is so cyclical that like it's gotten to a point where things have been so bad that this might be the thing that kind of corrects it all.
Yeah, it could be. I think. I don't think that everyone that has the money to make a movie should just like, I mean, I guess anyone that wants to make a movie should make a movie. Why not?
Yeah.
But I don't know. The most that I've heard about this movie is that like, yeah, he has a big fan base because he's a really popular YouTuber. The video game, I guess, has some amount of a fan base already too.
Yeah.
So that really definitely helped it. But I've heard that the movie is kind of a slog to sit through and like not that great.
Yeah.
So like I don't think that that means that he can just like that anyone that has the money can just be a director and can just make a movie. I think that you definitely need some people that like are professionals that have the experience
Yeah.
to at least guide that person with their ideas.
Yeah. You need to have talent and a vision to do all that. It's not really so much like I'm not speaking to the merits of the movie itself, but rather just the the innovation of, finding a loophole that you can like bypass this whole thing. Like you're basically cutting out the middleman of
Yeah.
the studios. Anyway, we should probably get into the Scream 4 of it all. Because
Scream
interestingly,
four.
Scream 4 is a movie that, speaking of like the distributor and marketing and all that, like it's a movie that failed. I wouldn't say
Mm,
miserably, but it's like it's the lowest grossing of the franchise because it got to a point where Miramax or like the Weinsteins kind of like thought that they could just kind of fall back on the laurels of like what the Scream franchise was, and it wasn't a movie that they needed to market because it's like, oh, of course people are going to see
yeah.
it, and it just doesn't work that way. But I just want to the typical housekeeping. If you
Hmm.
are new to the Cherry Picker or if you've been coming here for a while, thank you. We appreciate you choosing us as your preferred podcast, even if it's not the most preferred. Maybe we're like fifth or sixth or 10th down. And if that's what's going on, like you're listening to a lot
Ooh.
of podcasts. But thank you for, choosing us. But if you want to give back a little bit more, you can head over to my Patreon at patreon.com/Zack Cherry. And with your support, you're essentially keeping this going. And what's great about that is that there are perks where you can join us while we do these live stream recordings. So we've got everyone here tonight to discuss Scream 4 with us. There's also the Patreon's Choice, which every month we hand it over to you to nominate and vote upon a movie or a topic that you would like us to cover. So I'm going to put that poll up tomorrow. So if you're listening to this, you can absolutely get on board right now. You've got a week to pick a movie. All it takes is to be subscribed at the Freddy Krueger tier. But there's also a lot of other fun perks. You can get monthly reviews. I've got a review for Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1978, which I should be posting in the next couple of days here. But that was also something that was nominated and voted upon by my Patreon supporters. You can also do video calls and hangouts with me. So there's lots that you can get from this, as well as shout outs. So I do want to shout out a few choice people here. So thank you very much to the Michael Myers tier. We've got Kyle Beard, Sam Levy, Ellie Hamouche, Shane Allingham, Tim McKay, Horror
Yay.
Slut 95, Austin Hall, Billy's mother. I don't know why it just begs to be like spoken like Chucky.
Has
Cara
to.
Day, Michael Boswell, Def Con, Michelle Hughes, and then Ghostface supporters. Thank you very much to Eric Champney, Daniel Saturn, Stephanie Starbright, Baby Ghoul, Garrison Nichols, Craig Lynn, and Josh Burrow. Tim, you got a premise for Scream 4?
So I actually don't have one. But this movie takes place in 2010. Do you want to actually talk about this really quick? Because I do th think that there was a mistake in Scream 5. I think they say it happens in 2011, but I believe there's a calendar on a wall that shows that it
Hmm.
is October of 2010.
I don't know
Um,
about that. Because I'm all about the continuity and little loopholes. And I know that everything was mostly hunky-dory until 5 and 6, especially with like the stab continuity. But I thought that it was 15 years. Like they say in the movie, it takes place 15 years after the anniversary of the Woodsboro massacre. So that would put it in 2011.
okay, yeah. I forgot what I was watching earlier, and it was like there was someone showed a screenshot of like a calendar that's on a wall. So it could just be a wrong date on the calendar, but there's
Yeah.
like some screenshot. I think it was on CZ World. I think he oh my God, and you're in his video. I don't know if you know that, but like in his Scream
Oh my
4
God.
video, there's a clip of you. He's like fellow Zack and fellow YouTuber.
Yeah.
Um yeah, and
Mhm.
so he talks about you for a second. But yeah, so he
Yeah,
showed a
it's really
screenshot
cool.
of a map of a calendar that said October 2010, but could be wrong.
Mhm.
But basically, um, I should have gotten a premise for this. But Ghostface comes back, and oh, it's actually on the day that Sydney returns to Woodsboro for the release of her book, Out of Darkness. The same day
Mm.
that she returns to Woodsboro, there is a couple of vicious murders, and now there's a new killer in
Pe
town. God, sorry,
people
this is
be
terrible.
people be dying,
People be dying
and
left and right.
this killer is fucking up Sydney's book tour. Um,
Absolutely.
there
What's
was
this
like a
all about?
video, it was like the viral thing on like Instagram or TikTok a few years ago, and Emma Roberts was like running out of a bookstore, and I guess like Bill Clinton was there with
Oh
his
yeah.
thing, and I just and she's like had this all these books, and she's like, get out of my way, like pushing past, and I see that I'm like, it's Jill going to like take a bunch of Sydney's books and just like whatever she does in the trunk or just like graffitis them all.
Which,
Uh,
how would that have happened? I know we have to get to that part, but
yes,
um,
I would love to talk about the logistics of this movie because I feel like the editing really is not great sometimes in Scream 4. Um, there's a lot that was cut out, and the version that I watched was sort of like a fan edit that I know that there's quite a few floating around. So if you can find one, I wish I could credit who it was. I forget who did this one and sent it to me. But he did a really good job. Like everything, like sound and musically, it just lines up, and it's just the movie, but it has all of the deleted and alternate scenes placed back in. And alternate. So like in the opening, we get the original opening with Jenny and Marnie rather than the one that shows up in the movie where they end up in
Mm-hmm.
the garage. And in this version, it's actually uh, Marnie who makes it a little bit further than Jenny. But because like even as this is like this version was like 2 hours and 7 minutes long, and I think the theatrical version or like the regular version is probably like what an hour and 50 something. So there's quite a bit extra. And it really adds a lot of context to the characters and the
Mm-hmm.
situation and what's going on, and I feel was missing. And I know that Wes Craven didn't want to take out these things. Like it was just like that was part of the thing. It's just like Dimension really stepped on everyone's toes with what was going on here. Like specifically, like the Weinsteins were really kind of fucking shit up, and this movie had a lot more production meddling than I think any of the other movies had at that point. Probably more than five and six, and even seven have had. And it got to a point like the script was written by Kevin Williamson, and they wanted rewrites. They wanted things to be changed, but he kind of got busy with his schedule with like whatever, like I think it was the Vampire Diaries at the time. So
Mm.
he couldn't even stay on to do these rewrites. So they brought Aaron Kruger back from Scream 3, as well as like a committee of other writers. And I guess that like whatever the situation was, like Kevin Williamson, like essentially like he's just like exited the project and was like, fuck you guys. And like had like a very contentious falling out with the Weinsteins. And that's where it like really came to light that like they would try to pit people against each other, like try to pit like Wes Craven against Kevin Williamson, and just like made these work environments really awful. And like, we're hearing that about movies like Cursed that took like 3 years to make, and even like the Kevin Williamson's first directed movie, Teaching Mrs. Tingle, and just sort of like all of the meddling that would go on. So this was like, for all intents and purposes, like a really lousy experience for everyone involved to make.
I could definitely understand that, especially with all the reshoots they had to do. It looks like the principal photography was June 2010 to September 2010, and then they came back in 2011, January and February. So
Hmm.
um but I watched the same copy as you. I watched the extended cut, thanks to
Hmm.
Eric. Um
Thank you,
Eric
Eric.
Champney. Yeah, thank you, Eric. That was awesome.
Well, that was the same version I sent to him and he sent to you. So,
Oh, so you
yeah.
want the
So
credit,
I
Zack?
want the credit.
So
Well,
you
the
want the
the
credit.
credit goes to the person who I cannot remember their name, but yes, well, we'll
Perfect.
all take it.
So I watched that and I loved it. First of all, I loved it because I feel like there was a lot of scenes added in, and it's funny because I took notes and I was like I kept writing like, oh, this one should have been left in the movie. This one should have been left in the movie. But then I was like, at some point, I realized I'm like, I actually just love every alternate scene, every deleted scene. I feel like they all belong in the movie, and so I agree with what you're saying that I could see why Wes would want them all in, like why he was
Hmm.
hoping that they would have all could have stayed in because they are so necessary, and I feel like we learn so much about certain characters. And we can go into this more specifically as we go through the movie, but there's things that we learn in these deleted scenes that we don't get. Like, for example, Sydney's father dying. Like, we learn that in one of the deleted scenes between Gail and
Hmm.
Dewey, which we don't learn in the regular movie. So
Yeah.
it's just kind of a mystery what happened to her dad. So that's super exciting. I think I actually prefer the other opening better, the theatrical opening. I don't really like the opening of Screen 4 at all. I hate the second fake out. I don't mind the first fake out death. Like
Hmm.
if that was just opened into the actual movie, the two girls, what are they, Lucy Hale and Shanae Grimes, if that fake out scene went right into Scream, I would have liked that, I think. But because they did the second fake out um with our girls Anna Paquin and Kristen Bell, I feel like that one just kind of ruined it. That one ruined
Hmm.
the opening for me because I feel like that didn't even feel like a stab scene. That felt like it didn't even belong because Kristen Bell is not even in a Ghostface costume. It just didn't feel like it would fit anywhere in the
Yeah.
movie. And it definitely wouldn't be the intro to Stab 7. Like that wouldn't be a normal intro. So,
Who knows what this
um,
franchise is at this point?
yeah.
But that you're
So
sounding a lot like Marnie of like her argument of just like, did
you mean
I
the
overthink
Carney?
it? Marnie the Carney.
Yeah, I love
Did
that.
did you overthink it or did whoever make it just underthink it?
Exactly. And I
Yeah.
think that whoever made Scream 5, they underthought it. No,
Oh wow.
but yeah, I think that yeah, I don't like the double fake
Well,
out.
just for context, so the alternate opening, which was the original opening that was then changed in reshoots,
Yes.
actually sees like everything plays out as it is, where they're watching the movie like on, and then they say all the stuff that we just said, and then Jenny thinks she hears a noise coming from upstairs, and she goes upstairs, and when she goes upstairs, she calls Marty, and we see that as it is, and it's revealed that that's Jenny pranking her. And then she like Marnie's like you just hear and glass
Hmm.
shatter. So this is where it changes. Jenny goes downstairs and she sees something on the floor. Like I can't even tell what it is. Like it's like a some sort of like bowling ball is what it looks like. It's something, but it's very hard to decipher what it is. So that was changed in the theatrical version that it's just a phone. And Jenny goes over into the living room and she finds Marnie just like laying on the floor lifeless. And she's just like, Marnie, Marnie. And then Marnie like smiles and just like, gotcha. And they turn on the lights and they have like more of an exchange and like, are we gonna finish watching the movie? They're like, sure. Jenny is just like like she goes and she's kneeling on the couch, like facing Marnie, who's in the kitchen getting more soda and popcorn. And Marnie opens the fridge, and when she closes it, it reveals Ghostface standing at the door that's now open. And Marty turns back and sees Ghostface, who's now moved, standing behind Jenny, and Jenny does not see Ghostface at this point. And she's kind of like she's very incredulous to this whole thing. She's like, "Okay, another prank. Like, come on, assholes, it's over." And then
Hmm.
Ghostface just starts stabbing Jenny, and she's like, "That doesn't even look real. Come on, guys, whatever." Like as that's actually happening,
Hmm.
until she realizes that it's real. And then Ghostface starts to chase after her and chases her to the front door, which is like we actually see this footage. It's like part of what Charlie shows to Jill at the end of like the Marnie footage of her getting
Hmm.
stabbed. And she's like falls to the ground. And the whole thing at the end is like she says, "You're not real." And then he stabs down, and it's just like the title card. And I like it because I feel that for what the fake outs were at this point, like a lot of it was Roger L. Jackson on the phone. And we didn't
Hmm.
really get a lot of like I liked the Shanae Grimes Lucy Hale of it all because I liked those characters. I thought that I agree
Hmm.
with you, like they were the superior segment of this opening.
Yeah.
The Anna Paquin Kristen Bell thing always just felt like, it's just there, like it's just a wink at the audience. But then like when we came into the Jenny Marnie of it all, it was just like, yeah, okay, I'm like not really into these characters. Um, but at that point, like in the theatrical version that we see, they replaced all that stuff of just sort of like the faking, like each one of them playing pranks on one another, to have Ghostface call instead and talk to Jenny. And it does,
Hmm.
I do like the line of when she's like, asshole, like I have a 4.0 GPA and a 130 IQ, et cetera, and so forth, because he calls her a dumb blonde or whatever.
Hmm.
But it just feels like more of just like, I didn't need more Ghostface. There's a lot of Ghostface talking, like phone calls in the movie. And I think at
And
that point,
not to cut you off, but
no, it's
I
okay.
I cannot stand her dialogue. Jenny's, that's her name, right? Jenny. Her
Yeah,
dialogue
Amy T.
when she's
Garden.
just like that smug when she like thinks it's Marnie on the phone and she's just like, but you don't have the voice change or the app that changes your voice to Ghostface. Like it just seems very expository, like
Yeah.
explaining how she did it. She's like, well, you don't have the app on your phone that changes your voice to Ghostface. So, what's it gonna be? It just feels very like bad. It just feels like
Mhm.
bad acting. I don't know. I just don't like that scene as much
Yeah.
as like
Well,
as an opening, I mean,
yeah,
because
well,
of her.
essentially, like I for me, like what I like in my opening scenes for Scream is really kind of like this unraveling of a situation, just sort of like the pressure cooker of it all, and just like how things get really tense. And for that, it's sort of like it has to be a scenario like with Casey Becker, where it's like you have 10 minutes or more of this situation and things really like start to escalate. And what starts as like a very innocuous, like just a typical evening turns into like someone's brutal murder. I like to see that unravel. I like to sort of
Hmm.
like start with that character and end with that character. And that's why like I really like the openings for the first two movies because it doesn't do that ridiculous like Ghostface slashing through the screen, like meta breaking the fourth wall. It's actually like it's staying with the character and just sort of like showcasing like, okay, this is how fast shit can go bad. So it's just
Hmm.
like it feels more impactful when we see Drew hanging on the tree or Jada Pinkett like dying on the stage there is the last thing before the we come into the titles.
Yeah, you
And
feel bad for them. Like you really feel
yeah,
bad in a way that you don't for this, later
yeah.
versions.
No, and in this version, it's like we're diminishing the time we spent. Like we have these two characters, but then it's like, no, 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 don't worry about those. We have these two other characters. No, don't worry about them. We have these guys who we spend like barely any time with. So at that point, like I've already been trained to get excited and then feel like, oh, okay, that's the joke twice now that
Hmm.
by the time we get to the third one, it's just like, oh my God, just kill them. Like I couldn't give a shit. So
You
I
can't tell
there's
if it's a joke again, if not,
yeah,
and then you're just kind of at that point you don't really care. You're almost like, please hurry up and die so that we can just get to
yeah.
the rest of the movie.
So there's this emotional disconnect that you have with them, and like Jenny and Marnie like ultimately don't really have anything to do with the rest of the movie. They're in the extended cut of just like the deleted scenes, which by the way, Amethyst said earlier in the comments that you can watch them on YouTube. Also, I have the Blu-ray from forever ago, and all the deleted scenes are on there. So I mean, like you can find them, you can watch them. They just won't be put together in like an edit of the movie.
Hmm.
But we do find out that Jenny was the girl who Trevor cheated cheated on Jill with. And this is dialogue that's like that we hear in the car. I don't know why they cut this, but Olivia says, "Oh, the other woman," when Jenny calls because
Hmm.
she's like, "Why is Jenny Randall calling me?" So
Yeah, there was a lot of little things like that that I noticed in this version that I watched where
yeah,
I was like, that wasn't in the original. Like something so small like that, where I'm like, am I just like forgetting that? But I'm like, no, there was
yeah,
a few times that that happened where I was really impressed, where I was just like, wow, I've never heard that before, and I loved
yeah.
it.
The well, ultimately, I guess what the producers didn't like about the original opening is that it didn't feel like it was like had enough of an impact. Like they wanted it to have like more of a chase to it. So they shot the stuff with Jenny and she's like runs up the stairs. It's barely a chase scene though. And
Barely.
she ends up in the garage.
That's not a
And
chase scene.
actually like we talked about this or like Edward did in the original episode where we covered Scream 4 and he had this brilliant idea. That the way they could have done it was when Jenny is crawling out from under the garage, um, we should have seen like another pair of Ghostface boots in front of her walk up, and she looks up, and Ghostface is holding a camera and is pointing it down at her.
Mm.
So we're right off the bat, we're introducing that yes, there are two killers in this movie. Because I think at this point in the franchise, like the fact that there are more than one killer is no longer a surprise. So
Yeah.
that's not something that should really be withheld until the end of the movie. But what's interesting about the killers in this movie is their MO and just like the way that they record the victims. So I think that that actually would have been a really cool way to introduce that element if like she looks up and a second Ghostface is standing there with the camera recording, and that would have like created a lot more intrigue moving into the film. So
Hmm.
yeah,
No, I agree.
I just wanted to bring that up and credit Edward with that idea because I think that it's probably would have made this movie a lot better.
Well, yeah, because we find that out a little bit later into the movie that they're making their own movie.
Mhm.
But I think that I think that that would be a great idea.
Yeah.
Introduce that right in the beginning, um, so that it feels like that's more believable.
Hmm.
Um, I know that at some point in this movie they say that I wish I knew which scene it was, but they pretty much say like it's copying the deaths from the first movie, and I really just don't get that statement. Maybe like when we as we're going through the movie and I find where I wrote that down, but
Yeah.
I don't know if you can remember where
It
it's
was
said. I
so
think Gail says it.
in Olivia's kill, and this is crazy because in the finished film they've digitally removed it, but Sydney goes into the room and she's like laying there with all the guts all over the place. But she also had a pet door around her neck, which is very like hard, like it's very unclear as to what it is, because it just
Mm-hmm.
feels like just randomly thrown in there. It's just like this wooden square around her neck. And it's not until the body is brought out and then Judy and Dewey are talking about it, and she's like, "This is the weirdest thing." She had a like a one of those pet doors, like those garage pet doors around her neck, and
Mm.
Dewey's like, he's repeating the murders of Woodsboro from 15 years ago. My sister Tatum was yada yada, and that kind of bothered me because it's like Judy in her introduction scene is like, "Oh, I wish I could have been on the force with you when you were solving the murders back then." That it's just not like, wouldn't you have known that being from Woodsboro? Like these key details, like it seemed kind of sloppy. So it was probably for the best. But yeah, they digitally removed it in the regular version, so it's not there.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know because I just never understood that when they like it seems like they're like recreating the deaths from like the original murders whatever and I was like
Yeah.
how though because in the original it was like a girl and her boyfriend killed one night and then the next
Hmm.
death isn't until Himbury I
Yeah.
think right and so like I was like how is that anything like this movie this is like two girls that were home
Yeah.
alone hanging out and then the next death is their friend who was gutted in a bedroom so I'm like
Yeah.
it's not like the original at all so I
S-
never got that.
Yeah, speaking of Himbry, there's a bust in the school, which we can kind of see in when they're at the lockers. It's just sort of the profile. It's a bust of Principal Himbry, but
Mm-hmm.
in like the extra scenes, like it just full on shows it, like a shot of it up front and lingers on it. But Amethyst is pointing out that there's also uh, a scene where the police go to the house, like Jenny's house, and Marnie is like strung up on a fan, so it's supposed to be like
Mm-hmm.
hanging like the way Casey is,
Like
and Jenny is like tied up to a chair too, so it's sort of like supposed to be
oh.
copying that in a way.
I,
It's very like it was a little underbaked of just sort of this idea that there was a copy of that, and that's probably why a lot of it was removed from the finished film.
yeah.
Um,
Um,
but I want to say this was actually mentioned in the chat before we started, but I love the music in this movie. Like I don't like it as much as Scream 2, but the sounds or whatever, like the Something to Die For, whatever the music is when we come right into it, like don't say goodbye, just leave an
yes.
open door. Boom,
It's
boom,
like a
boom, boom.
tragic, it's like
Yeah.
tragic, like, love
But
it.
you were saying it
Fun,
was like
tragic.
you were saying it was kind of like the emo, like
Yes.
crying
The
music.
emo
Like,
crying while you sleep, but it sounds pretty. Like
yeah.
scream cry while it sounds pretty. Yeah. I
Where
love the
are
song.
you?
What's
I'm
the song that
so
plays
sorry.
when Olivia gets home? When Olivia pulls into her driveway, that's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that
It's the
song.
same
Yeah, yeah,
band. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I
It's just
definitely
it's
like that music.
very of that time. It's just very
Yeah.
like
Nothing,
2010s.
nothing, no one. Yeah, it's so
Hmm.
dramatic. It's like living in a lie. I love that era. That was when
Living
like
in a
spiked.
lie.
Yeah, that's when
I
like
think
spiked
it's
bracelets were in. I'm like, ooh,
I think it's
edgy.
all supposed to be like a clue of Jill, like living in a lie.
Oh yeah,
Um, maybe I'm just thinking way too hard into it, but you already addressed this scene, but it was where so like Dewey wakes up and Gail's in bed, but then it cuts to them in the bathroom and they're both sort of getting ready and he's in his
love that
uniform.
scene.
And oh,
Hmm.
it's a fantastic. If there was
It
any scene
should
that
be in the movie.
should be in the movie, it is that. And it really kind of shows their dynamic and just sort of like 10 years of marriage, like things are not great. He's apologizing to her for something from the night before. We never find out what it is. But
And
she,
Gail is it shows her bitterness with Sydney too, because she's even saying like, oh, has she ever come to my book openings? Like, has she ever done that for
yeah,
me? So it
no,
shows a
no,
bitterness there.
it's a great dynamic because like Dewey is just like, "Are you gonna go to Sydney's book signing today?" And he's like, "I would go, but I have to work." Not that I mean, because like Gail's not working right now. She's trying to work on
Yeah.
her book. And yeah, she says, "Has she ever been to one of mine?" sort of things. And it's just like there's so much happening in whatever this is. And then the
Hmm.
mention of like her father dying and all that. And then we kind of come out and Kirby speeds by And it's like,
But
hey, Kirby, speed kills, or that's not the line, but
but he even jokes about like, hey, at least you get to wear your PJs to work, and she like just like walks away, or like she's just
she
like
is
doesn't say
not
anything.
having it.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love when she
Yeah.
just walks out of the bathroom pissed off, and then he like doesn't respond
Yeah.
to him.
Hmm.
But yeah, and then Kirby with her business casual haircut and blazers that she always wears.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. What's going on? I mean, I was already like few years out of high school at this point, so I don't know if that was like a style where
I remember when
seniors.
like a lot of yes, a lot of girls were wearing short blazers. It was very, very in for a while.
Mhm.
They were like blazers that would cut off around like the ribs area, around the midsection, and they were like often rolled up sleeves, very, very tight, form fitting, and like it was very business casual. I don't know why, but it was like and like so guys, it was when vests were very popular. Remember when guys were wearing vests all the time,
Yeah.
and like
Did they
vests
have
were
like
very in, and
the
scarves.
swoop emo hair,
Yeah, and like
like
a
the
scarf and a
early Justin
vest.
Bieber?
Like that
Hmm.
same period when we're making vests happen, we're also, I guess, blazers were very in. So I love that
Yeah.
Kirby's wearing her business casual look this entire movie.
Hmm. Yeah. I also think it's interesting that and this is sort of like the Jill of it all, and maybe like a lot of why like some of Jill's scenes were cut out.
Hmm.
Jill is not really introduced, like she's not the first character introduced in the same way that like Sydney was the first character introduced after like the opening scene in like one and or one, two, and three and all this. So Jill doesn't show up until like we've already seen Sydney and Rebecca, her assistant, played by Alison
Hmm.
Brie. We've seen Gail and Dewey, and then we come to Kirby, and we're not introduced to Jill like as her own character. We're introduced to her through Kirby's perspective when she's coming out the door. And I always find that so interesting because it's like the movie is already doing the groundwork to establish that like this is not the final girl. It's like
Yeah,
everything about her on the surface is the final girl, but like it like
it's false.
psychologically the way that the movie is setting her up is just like there's something that like we can't trust about her, but because we're kind of conditioned to just believe that she is the survivor, she's the final girl, we kind of do. And I don't know, like there's like a whole scene like after the attack, uh, and this is at the hospital before Alison Brie's character is killed, where it's sort of like it's the most time we spend with Jill outside of like her killer reveal. And Trevor is there and he's like having a conversation with her, and she's just going on about how like she just wants to get out of this town, and she's just sort of like, just being tied down to all of this. And it's all bullshit. And on the surface, like none of it is really interesting. Like if you watch this, like if you just pretend that Jill was never revealed as the killer, all of it feels just very basic and like going through the motions of like, yeah, here's our like really boring final girl. Because I don't think that Jill's an interesting character outside of being a killer. I think that like she's very bland, and
No,
like she's not really giving anything. And that's not this. It's not Emma Roberts. It's just the way that the character is written, and it's because it's just the performance that she's putting on. It's just sort of like this is how I'm supposed to act. Everything that she says is just like it just feels so disingenuous. Like it's just it feels hollow because it is disingenuous. So
yeah,
it's in a way like seeing that put back in is just like recontextualizes it, knowing like what she turns out to be in the end of the movie. So I feel that like because those scenes were cut out, we're really missing a lot of just sort of like how impactful the reveal could have been. I mean, the reveal works really
yeah.
well, but I think that it would have been even better if they had kept all that stuff in.
I agree. I think that a lot of the scenes included Trevor, which in my notes I wrote Trevor is such a non-character. Like I feel like him and um, Jill have no chemistry whatsoever. Like every
Mhm.
single scene that shows them like try to have these serious conversations, like all the deleted scenes of them pretty much. Like I just
Yeah.
felt like okay, like you guys have no chemistry. You're no Billy and Sydney. Like you just don't have the chemistry whatsoever. So you almost just do not care and it's yeah. Oh, I wanted to say I've met Nico toward the guy that plays
Tortorella. Yeah.
yeah, Tortorella. I've met him before. Very, very nice. And I think he's a good actor, but I just feel like there's no chemistry with any of their scenes. So it's very hard, but seeing them together more does help. Like you're saying, at the impact at the end. And also
Mhm.
seeing that girl Olivia, like her friend Olivia, there's a few scenes that she's in. There's like a whole fountain scene that kind of like reflects back to the first movie,
Yeah, which is
which
a
I
great
actually
scene.
a great scene. I
Yeah,
wish they kept that scene. I wrote it down. I was like, fountain scene is really great. I wish it could have
yeah,
stayed because we see more of Trevor. We see more of Olivia. I feel like in Scream 4, we really don't get a feel for Trevor at all. Like, he's such a
yeah.
non-character.
He really, got the worst of it of just like being cut down. Because I mean, if you
Yeah.
think about the movie as it is theatrically, you have the scene of him like in the school hallway. And like somebody here still cares about you, and then him and like crawling into the window. And then I think that there's like he's sitting there in the classroom in like the film club or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, but he doesn't say anything. And then he just shows up at the end. He just shows up at the
Yeah.
party.
Yeah.
I think he's at the Stabathon where he's just like, "Hey, Kirby," and she flips him off. But like otherwise, he's completely a non-entity.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
completely pointless in this, and he just didn't give us that like at least Derek in Scream 2, he was completely different from Billy Loomis, but he had like a such a draw in to him, that yeah, that this guy didn't at all.
Jackie Simmons is saying, "Should have known Jill was a villain when I saw her about to snack on a cheese stick and chocolate milk."
Gross.
Yeah. I remember those like cheese string things as a kid and like the Lunchables and the Dunkaroos and whatnot. But it
Yeah,
is a very strange uh pairing, I guess. I always think of that scene because it's like she's so like, oh, guess I'm under house arrest. Every
I
beat of
know.
Jill is just sort of like complaining about how awful her everything is, and it's just like your friend was just murdered, and you're, like this crazy shit is happening. You're being attacked, and she's just sort of like, I wish I could be doing anything else tonight other
I
than this.
know. It
Yeah,
just happened too. It's like your friend was just slaughtered.
yeah.
Come on. If anything, you're the luckiest girl in town to have police. Granted, they're the worst police in the entire world,
Oh, they're
but
awful. Yeah.
yeah, the absolute worst. But hey, at least you have someone outside that's not even watching you. But
Hmm.
I love I love when we meet Judy Hicks in this movie. I love some of their dialogue. It's just such some of the funniest dialogue I think in the
Hmm.
whole movie. My favorite line of hers is like, "You're not cheating on your wife if you eat my lemon square," and for him to reply back, "But I would be cheating on my diet." I just think
Yeah.
that's so smart. That's so clever and such a way to shut her down without being rude. And so
Yeah.
I love their little relationship. I love that she's obsessed with him, and she's always in some of the deleted scenes too. Like we
Yeah.
hear Judy talk about him in such a highlight.
Yeah, and it just makes me like really sad about Scream 5 because I feel like they
I
did not
know.
do that
I
character
love Judy.
justice.
I know.
And what's interesting is you also have to think about, and I'm not to jump ahead into Scream 5 or 7 for that matter, but like the timeline here. So Wes, her son, would have already been born. There's obviously no
Mm-hmm.
mention, like he's just not relevant. Maybe he was staying with the father
Single
at this
mom.
point.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I just think it's funny how the franchise like from the Spyglass era forward is just sort of like retconning children because now Sydney has a 17-year-old in Scream 7,
Mm-hmm.
and I get like it takes place. I'm pretty sure they say it's like Scream 7 is 30 years after the original. So if she's 17, that means that Sydney has like a 2-year-old daughter in 2011. Even if it's 2010, the daughter is 1 years old. So it's just like no mention
Mm.
of a daughter in this movie whatsoever.
Yeah.
Um, it's kind of confounding that it's just like I can accept the Judy of it all because Judy is not like our main character.
Yeah.
We don't
She
really
wouldn't
need to
talk about her
know
kids.
a
Mm-hmm.
lot about her. But with Sydney, it's just like that's a big deal that you have kids and like that like Dewey wouldn't say anything. But I feel that like that's just sort of like the way that they're like that they approach the material now. It's just like they're just doing whatever. They don't care if it disrupts the continuity. Because actually the fountain scene, they very specifically say, and I've had many an argument with people online about this, is that Sydney is not a character in the Stab movies beyond Stab 3. And it's sort of
Hmm.
like it is implied during the Jenny Marnie conversation of it all, but
Hmm.
then Kirby specifically says at the fountain, well, Sydney hasn't been in the Stab franchise since Stab 3. So it's just
Hmm.
like that's just kind of like proving that like the implication is just filling in the gaps. But people say because that scene was removed that it's not canon and it doesn't actually count. And it's,
Yeah.
I would think that like regardless, like the people who are like making the new movies would have enough like wherewithal of just the material beforehand to know, okay, yeah, Sydney was not in these movies. But then you get to the Judy of it all because they're saying like in Scream 5, my mother, or like Wes says, my mother was a character in the movies. But like based on like where we're at in Scream 4, there's 7 Stab movies. Like that's the current run.
Yeah.
And then in Scream 5, the one that just came out that's like directed by Ryan Johnson is the 8th movie. So it's like when exactly was Judy in a Stab movie? Like
Yeah. And why was there so much time between Stab 7 and Stab 8?
yeah, and they're just like it's impossible. Like they never would have all they had to do was say this was the 9th Stab movie and there would or even like go beyond
Yeah.
that. But
Hmm.
yeah, I feel that like somewhere in like between now and Scream 5, like the continuity just got completely fucked. Which sucks because like I love continuity. Like that's why
I
like
know.
the Child's Play franchise, like I feel like there were a lot of hiccups there, but they always found a way to make it make sense in some way. And you got to appreciate that because there's just so many long-running franchises that just do not give a shit, like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where it's like we're just gonna reboot it every movie, and Halloween, that it's just like
Hmm.
Scream kind of was, they like it was all there. They had the franchise Bible. They could have just followed it neatly, and they chose not to.
And I feel like they could honestly just go on any YouTuber that has those breakdowns of the first Scream movie,
Mhm.
the second Scream, any of those, a lot of them have all the facts right there. So I feel
I
like,
would have done it for them for free.
yeah, no, I feel
I
like
would
you
have been a
need to
free
be employed.
contractor. Yeah.
You should be employed by Spyglass, and you'll be like, listen, guys, I will be the continuity king for this
Yeah.
entire project and really reshape your entire
Yeah.
script.
Yeah. Like I don't need any money, but if you want to throw some money at me, please do.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, even if it was CZ's, like hire him. I'd be happy with that. But
Hmm.
yeah, no such luck.
And I also wrote down that when we meet Robbie and Charlie,
Yeah.
um, very ahead of their time. I think this whole movie, the statement of victimhood, being the motive, is way ahead of its time. But I think Robbie also. So this movie is just so ahead of its time, like streaming his whole life, and I think that he even says like one
Mhm.
day everyone will be doing this, will be streaming their whole lives, and they were
Yeah.
absolutely correct. So.
It's it really is like it's I think that like outside of the original, because the original is sort of like the template of like what this was supposed to be, of just like sort of what do you do, what happens when you turn the camera on like the people who watch these movies and like that these
Mhm.
movies exist in the universe of which the film takes place. This is like probably the smartest commentary because it really steps into the idea of the remakes and all that. And I mean, let's talk about the filter for a second because like this is probably the biggest complaint that you ever hear of like people talk about
Yes,
like
the
Scream
glow.
4, the weird like high contrast, high brightness like situation that's going on where it's just like it's overly dark in even in like daylight scenes or just like completely like the brightness engulfs things like when Gail walks into that bookshop there's never
Oh,
like it's almost like she's translucent with the
yeah, it's almost like I
glare.
have to hold my hand up and like block the light.
Yeah, it's crazy but it's the filter is like doing this thing where it is like kind of like that effect that we see in a lot of the remakes that were coming out at this time. So it's like, I don't think that it was the best thing to do. I would have rather the movie looked nicer to
Hmm.
look at. But if that was the intention for Wes Craven to kind of make it um, like emblematic of the visual style of those movies, then that works completely. But there's also the fact that it's sort of set up like it's a passing of the baton. It's like here's the new generation where which is like not unlike a situation like H2O where you have like Josh Hartnett playing Jamie Lee Curtis's son and Michelle Williams is the girlfriend, like just like introducing the younger cast.
Hmm.
So we're doing it here, and then even though like Kirby's death is retconned as of the new movies, it's they've completely killed everyone off. It's and that sort of like goes with Sydney's statement. It's just like don't fuck with the original. That it's just like in a way, Wes Craven is just sort of like, no, the remakes will never be better, and we're going to kill it completely to prove that point.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
Hmm. Um, but yeah, so the scene in the bookshop where it's just more like dynamic between the trio of Sydney, Gale, and Dewey that I love because Gail comes in and she already has that like contempt that we were talking about of just sort of like there's a jealousy in the air, and I think that this might be one of my like it's not my favorite interaction between Gail and Sydney, but it's like probably one of the most understated because there's so much going on here, and I just love that she like walks in and Sydney's like, like happy to see her. And like Gail's kind of like, she's like trying. You could tell. It's just like, I see the book is selling well, yada, yada, yada. And they hug each
She's
other.
cold. She's very cold.
Yeah, yeah, but she's not very cold, but there's a coldness to her. But
Yeah, a
Sydney's like,
crisp chill.
yeah, Sydney's like, like yeah, whatever. They hug, and as this is happening, Dewey comes in, and it's not like Sydney like out of my way, bitch, but like her response is like, Dewey, where it's
Yeah.
just like Gail, Dewey, and she just sort of like she doesn't push Gail aside, but she just like moves past her, and it's. I mean, it's to be expected, but I feel in that moment, like I feel for Gail in that moment because it's just like you are second fiddle here. Like you are not the important person here. And I've always loved their dynamic of those two characters. And I love how it evolves over the films. And like obviously you have like the slap, the punch, the slap, and then in three, it's like they're mending, and then here you just sort of like you've got this evolution of it, and like where are they today, and how do they feel about it? And obviously, I don't think that Sydney has any resentment at all towards Gail, but there's still this like underlying thing of just like if Dewey wasn't in my life, I would have nothing to do with you.
Yeah, totally. I mean, like,
Mhm.
yeah, they were never really friends, I feel like. I feel
No.
like for Scream 3 they kind of like tolerated each other, but in between these movies, I feel like I wonder if they have any connection at all, if they even like keep in touch with each other. So, I mean,
I
Facebook
don't,
was just becoming a
yeah.
new thing around then, so maybe they keep in touch on Facebook, but
I mean, I think that by 2011, Facebook had actually been around for a bit.
yeah,
Because,
a
like, even
couple of
like Anna
years.
Paquin says, like, or Kristen Bell says, well, I guess it would be Twitter now, like, because Anna's like a Facebook killer. Is how unoriginal. So I
Oh my
think,
God. Yes. And I forgot to
yeah.
mention, sorry to cut you off, but I
Oh,
wanted
that's
to say
okay.
one detail I really loved about that opening was that they were using sidekicks because
Yeah.
like no one was using sidekicks by 2011. When the movie actually like the real movie takes place, but because it's Stab 6, it would make sense that like they probably filmed that around 2006, 2007, whatever when they were using
Yeah.
sidekicks. I thought that was a really smart
Hmm.
detail. And you're right, they mentioned Facebook back then, so
Yeah.
it must have been around. I didn't
Do
even
you
know.
remember the Motorola Razor, which was just like the hottest
Hmm.
phone
Yeah, that reminds me
ever?
of When a Stranger Calls. That's what the phone that she's
Hmm.
holding in When a Stranger
Yeah.
Calls
Yeah,
in the
absolutely. Like that was the
poster.
thing. It's just like if you didn't have that, then you were shit. I remember like the
Hmm.
what was this like the Sony Ericsson, and I forget what model it was, but it was like the flip phone. It was like a clamshell, and you'd just be like, "Hello," and
Yeah,
then
you think such a bitch.
yeah, it
Hmm.
was it was
Yeah.
it was very
And when you're
bitchy.
mad and you close it, it feels so good to close it.
Yeah,
Click.
yeah. And now you can't do that. You just gotta like, okay, I'm just gonna
Gently
hit a
tap,
button.
just
You
gently tap
don't
the screen.
Yeah, you don't get the thing. I was watching a movie, like it was an older movie called Black Widow, not the MCU one, but
Hmm.
as a Teresa Russell and Deborah Winger, and she's sort of like she marries men and murders them, and this the other Deborah Winger's like an FBI agent, like tracking her, and the sister of the old fiance or old husband tracks her down and calls her, or she calls her, and she's like, "Hey, did someone come around checking on me?" And she's like, "Yeah, there was a." She said she was a reporter though, and she's like, "Listen, I gotta go. I'll talk to you later though." And then she like slams the phone down because she's so angry about it. And I'm thinking like, why did you do that? She would have like that would have really like banged in her
Been like
ear.
loud,
I'm like, why is she
ah.
mad at me? Um, but yeah, you don't get that. And this and we have to remember like Scream 3, there weren't like smartphones or anything. So like the advent of like having like characters having iPhones and all that was a brand new thing. Like it was just like another gimmick for this killer to have. And like you already mentioned
Yeah.
like the app. Everything was about apps and like the
Technology. Like
voice
technology was a
changer.
big theme for this
Hmm.
movie. Just the
Absolutely.
advancement and like streaming and they even say like it's all over the web, Dewey. Like it's all over the net. Like when Gail's like confronting him at the police station.
Yeah.
I love that whole scene too. Just that whole confrontation between Gail and Judy,
Yeah.
and then Gail confronting Dewey and like telling him that she's going rogue. And
Hmm.
did you ever watch Angel, the show Angel,
Oh,
spin-off of
absolutely.
Buffy?
Yeah.
It reminded me so much of when Wesley joined the show again, and he says
Hmm.
like he introduces himself well not, as a rogue demon slayer. He's like, I'm a
Yeah.
rogue demon hunter, and Cordelia's like, what's a rogue demon?
Hmm.
And it just reminded me that when like Gail is like, I'm going rogue, Dewey. Like that's
Yeah.
exactly what I thought of, like just a rogue
I
demon hunter.
yeah. I definitely like I enjoy the first half of this movie better than the last half. And I think that the reason for that is because Gail has a lot of agency going into the film. Like she's really the only one that's kind of moving the story along here.
Mm-hmm.
And what ultimately like disappoints with that is that it doesn't really go anywhere. Like she's just sort of like she goes to the Stabathon, she discovers like the camera stuff, so that's where we learn about that. And then she's
Yep.
like stabbed in the shoulder and kind of taken out, and she's just out of commission for the rest of the movie. And it feels like at that point, like Sydney's not really doing anything. Like she's very passive. She's just at home making tea, and she doesn't want to be there. And Jill obviously is not like for all the reasons that we said before, like she's not really filling this void of like the hero of the film or just like the protagonist that we're supposed to see anything happening. Like she's a very reactionary character in and of herself, but like she's not like proactively doing anything about it.
She's very
So
passive. She's very
yeah.
passive as a character. She's not like taking charge. She's very much that like, well, how do you deal with it? Like, I just don't know. Like, everything's happening to me. Again, victim. She's almost like playing the victim before she plays the victim.
Yeah. So like everything that's going on with Gale is really kind of like the crux of like the forward momentum here. So I feel like it's this movie probably more than any of the other ones feels more like an ensemble piece. So it's just sort of like, we'll have these like standalone bits where it's just like, okay, we're now killing this character and we're killing this character. And all the stuff with like obviously Olivia and then
Hmm.
Rebecca at the hospital. And okay, so this is where the editing really annoys me, is like during the Olivia kill, because she, like, first of all, it makes no sense, at least with like the way they describe it, that Charlie is already in the closet and then like the police see him and that's why they're not at the car. But even like in the scene, because Olivia gets out of her car and she calls Jill or Kirby or whatever, and
Hmm.
she's walking into her house, and then she hangs up, and Jill's like, "Watch this," and she calls her back, and literally, like, I think that in real time, 5 seconds have gone by. Olivia is already upstairs in her bedroom. Her shirt is off. She's standing there in her bra,
Immediately.
and it's just like, where was the passage of time for this to happen? So it just like it feels like the editing is very choppy in a lot of instances here,
You don't think that she
which
like kicked open the door, ripped off her shirt, and sprinted upstairs?
no, I,
You don't think that's what happened?
I would love if they had filmed that so we could see it happening.
It was
But
like very manic actually. She like kicked open the
yeah,
door. Mom's not home, right?
Yeah.
rips it off.
Yeah.
But yeah, Charlie must
But
have already been up there.
I mean, the only solution to this would be if because it's already established at the beginning of the film that it's like it's the anniversary and people get around town like get a little crazy and pranky, obviously, because like there's all the ghost face things that are on top of the street
Mm-hmm.
poles.
Yes.
That maybe there's like people running around in ghost face costumes all over town, and maybe there was a prankster, and that's what Haas and Perkins saw, that they left their car and went after them. Which, if they had added a scene like that, would that showed us of like between the point where Jill calls Olivia back, we just cut to the police car and they see a ghost face and they're like, "What's that? That looks suspicious. Let's go." And then at least that would have been enough to satisfy the passage of time that when we do check back in with Olivia, now she's in her bedroom and, in a different like state of undress rather than just like in 2 seconds flat, she's already in her room and in her bra. So
Yeah,
I
because
don't know, like
I that whole part does confuse me because the cops aren't there when Sydney like gets there to the house,
yeah.
right? And so like when Dewey asks them like what happened, they say um that they saw them run around that yard just before. So I'm like, yeah, exactly. Who did they see? And you're right, was it just a prank? But yeah, that was very confusing. I wrote that whole little segment down because I was like, who did they see? And like when did they see it?
Yeah, Amethyst says time is wonky in this movie. At the end, Sid calls Dewey to tell him to go to Kirby's, and it takes over 12 minutes for Dewey to get there. And in the meantime, Robbie, Kirby, Trevor, and Charlie all die. Um, Craig says she had no choice but to stay with her new Aunt Kate. That
Aunt.
Kate is another character that is just like completely like removed. Like she's not
Yeah,
even
she
really
was in
in.
the deleted scenes. Well, she was kind of, but they were like weird little snippets. Like it felt very like non-character
So
scenes.
originally, Kate was supposed to be played by Lauren Graham of Gilmore Girls, and also
Oh.
and Judy was like they had cast Lake Bell. So at some point, I don't know why Lake Bell dropped out, but for Lauren Graham, she dropped out because the script had changed so many times and her character was essentially whittled down to nothing. So she's just like,
Mm.
I'm not gonna do this. So instead they got the first lady from Independence Day,
Mary
uh,
McDonnell.
yeah, to
Yes.
to play Aunt Kate.
Hmm.
And yeah, she her like I guess proper introduction of like what we know is when she's just sort of like nobody asks me about my scars.
Yeah, that's our
Yeah.
first introduction in the actual movie, but in this version we saw her a little bit like we see a whole entrance of like Kirby coming over, which this doesn't make sense at all because Kirby comes over, she has like bags of food I think with
Yeah.
her for the sleepover,
Mhm.
but then after that is when Sydney goes up to the bedroom and talks and she sees her with Trevor, she sees Jill with Trevor. And so
Mhm.
where's Kirby during that whole part? That was
And
all
she was
she was in the
downstairs.
bathroom
Yeah.
taking a dump, like she was blowing up the bathroom because
Blowing up a
where else
bed.
would she? She's wearing the same clothes when when they're watching the movie, so it's not like she was in the shower. She's
Can I
not.
just
She's blowing up that bathroom.
I've never heard this term used so much in my entire life other than tonight. I just want to say before we started, because like I'll call Tim on the Zoom call and I had to step away from my computer, but I brought my phone just to tell him like I just stepped away, I'll be back. And I get this text message just being like, "Are you blowing up the bathroom?" And I just shout out from like the kitchen, like, "No!"
That's just what I assume. I'm like, you must just be
Yeah.
blowing it up.
No. Um, but Jill left the bathroom, so we know Kirby wasn't in there. I think she was just downstairs with Sydney. Kirby really liked Sydney, so I think that maybe she was just hanging out with her and
And Kate,
yeah.
and she's chatting with
And
Kate, and so
Kate,
so
yeah.
Kate is definitely a seed of jealousy. Like she has a seed of jealousy for the success that Sydney's had. I feel like and
You
then
think
that
that
trickles
Aunt
down.
Kate has is
Yeah.
jealous over?
Yeah, because she
Okay,
literally says
explain.
because in this the part that's deleted, she says like um or maybe it's even in I can't remember if it was deleted or if it's in the actual movie, but when she says like her mother was my sister and you know yeah, then of course no one asked about my scars, and uh
Yeah,
sh
that's the scene that's in there. That's where we first
but
meet
yeah,
her.
that's from the movie. But then there's another little part, but it gives the vibe that she's a little bit bitter about the situation,
Mm.
and so I can see that that kind of trickles down to her daughter, Jill, who's
The real villain of the movie is
yeah.
Aunt Kate
I can almost like
creating
I can
the
imagine
monster.
Kate growing up talking crap about Sydney's mom and like
Yeah,
how my sister was so promiscuous and like went to Hollywood. You have no idea what she. Oh my God, I'm pretty sure she had a son that she gave up or whatever. No,
yeah.
and then she probably turned her against Sydney. So there was always probably this animosity towards
Yeah.
her sister and
Well,
her
you
niece.
had mentioned in when we did the Scream 3 episode that we see Sydney's phone and it has the speed dial Dewey and Dad, but there's no Aunt Kate. So it's like how close were they and
Yeah,
when did
where
they
was
sort
Aunt
of like
Kate?
yeah,
Yeah,
when did
that's so
they
funny, so true.
reconnect at one point? And the way that Jill talks about Sydney is just like I don't really know her. Like maybe like the last time she saw her was like years and years ago. So it's like clearly, like, I have I have tons of relatives. Like I have just so many. I don't even know how many cousins I have at this point. And then like how many like children did those cousins have? So there's like family members that I don't even know exist, and wouldn't speak to. So I
Yeah,
mean, it feels like obviously the Robertses are a much smaller unit, but I can still buy the fact that like they're not that close in terms of what's going on, but close enough that Sydney would stay with them at the house rather than go
the
stay at
double
the
tree.
motel. That yeah, with
With
Rebecca.
Rebecca. She's like, "You sure? You don't? Okay, I'll be at the DoubleTree." I love that little
Rebecca
deleted scene.
Rebecca feels like a Scream 3 holdover. Like she's a character that would fit right in with Scream 3. She stands
Yeah,
out a little bit here because it's like she's almost a little too over the top.
cartoon. Yeah, when she's
Yeah.
walking with Gail and she's like, "You were my '90s." Like that whole scene.
Yeah.
Very like, ah, ha, ha, ha.
Yeah. Kind of Disney villain,
And that
Disney
yeah,
henchman.
a little bit, yeah. Like, oh my,
Yeah.
haha, my evil, or a very. This movie feels very soap opera to me in a
Yeah.
way. Like this movie specifically feels very soap opera. The lighting, a lot of it, and like the everyone's very glamorous. Like everyone's hair is curled or like or makeup's.
Yeah.
It just feels very beautifully made. Heels. There's lots of heels in this movie.
Also
Um,
heels.
and do you remember the additional scene after the attack at the house there when Kate wakes up? So it's another Kate deleted scene, and she's like
Mm.
crying, and she's like, "Oh, I took sleeping pills. I'm so sorry, Jill."
She drinks some
Um,
wine.
and I'm just like, they just cut this bitch all the way out. They just said, you know
Yeah.
what? I know that it took a lot for you to cry in this scene, but we're actually just gonna snip it right out.
We're gonna cut you out.
Um,
Yeah. Mary McDonnell and Nico Tortorella just like completely got fucked in the edit here. But yeah, the Allison Brie of it all when she's waiting outside the police station and the phone rings, she's just like, fuck me, wow, two girls
yeah, fuck
butchered.
that. Yeah, exactly. Ooh,
Yeah.
payday.
Yeah. It's
Um,
so good. Yeah.
it's a little
Um,
over the top. Like it was, and then when she does walk up with Gail, it was kind of giving me like flashbacks to Debbie Salt and Gail a little bit.
yeah.
But even
Yeah.
that whole scene felt over the top to me because even how Gail like says her big quote, whatever, and then she turns away and she's like, "I still got it,"
Still
and
got it.
the
Yeah.
music's like, like it's almost like a
The
very hammy.
It's very like Real Housewives of Woodsboro.
Yes,
And
yes.
so this is Marco Beltrami. He's coming back for the fourth time now with Scream 4. And this is the weakest score in the whole franchise, but like, certainly of what he's done. And it's, like all throughout, like it just feels like it's not delivering the same thing. Like we're not having these like sweeping overtures and mysterious cues. Like it doesn't feel the
Hmm.
music doesn't feel dangerous or spooky or mysterious. It just feels very
Hmm.
like plucky and drippy and playful. And I don't know. It just like it kind of like ruins the vibe a little bit.
Yeah, like I think I always think of Scream 2, Gale's chase scene, I think. I think like
Yeah.
that's like when it's like when it's like
The
really picking
fiddles,
up.
the
Yeah,
violins. Yeah,
and
yeah.
when it's all crescendoing all together. Um, I I feel like this movie doesn't really have that as much. It feels more like like almost like a TV show's like soundtrack, like of
Yeah.
a spooky episode. But the one scene where there was a great crescendo of music was when Gail is being attacked at the barn, and you can't hear her screaming because you hear the movie playing, Stab, in
Yeah.
the background. So I did like that because you hear that music playing, which was actually really
Mm,
good.
yeah.
So that score is playing over her screams. So that was actually really cool.
Yeah. Um, how do you feel about, I know this was mentioned before we started, but the Roger L. Jackson of it all and sort of like what his ghost face is doing in this the phone voice is doing in this movie.
I like it a lot. He sounds a little more wicked, like a little bit more like sinister.
It's very Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, like almost
There's
sinister, playful, like is he when I think it's the original version where or it's the alternate version where he's like, then you better start running. Like I love that one where it's right before
yeah.
Jenny, right? And he breaks the window.
I
Um
yeah, I
but
don't
like
remember everything. The lines that
and
I
cut through your
remember.
neck till you feel bone.
Yeah, I'll slit your eyelids in half. So you,
Yes.
but then there's the in the garage with Allison Brie when he's just like, it doesn't sound like you're in the hospital. It sounds like you're in the parking lot, a dark, deserted parking lot. But if you'd like to go to the
Mm.
hospital, I'd be happy to put you there in the fucking morgue.
Yes, I love
Yeah.
that line. And like, did he always say fucking morgue?
I think the fucking is like it might be in like
Added
the
in.
added version.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I think it's like, in the
In the
morgue,
morgue.
and so I always move my lips to that part like when I'm watching
Yeah.
the movie because I love that line. And so when they said "fucking morgue" today, I was like, oh, I was like, wait, have I been saying it wrong this whole
What?
time?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
um,
it's like it's the Mandela effect. It's just like, wait, is this the movie that I thought I remembered? I was just talking about this with Eric with the movie Cursed because
mhm.
when that was released, the version that Canada got was the unrated version. So it's like oh, like Shannon Elizabeth, you see her like completely like half her
Ripped in
body or
half.
whatever, and
Hmm.
like all these other things. So when I like eventually watched it years later, or like I bought it like the DVD or the Blu-ray
Yep.
and put it on. I'm just like, I have like a memory of like this entire other thing happening.
I
Uh,
love the movie Cursed. I don't care what anyone says. I love it, and I know it. I would love to know what it was supposed to originally be. I would have loved the
yeah,
original version of it more. But like the whole elevator, I mean, the whole parking garage scene in this movie reminds me so much of Cursed.
yeah.
Because of the parking garage scene. So I know Kevin Williamson has this like
I think that
favorites.
Cursed is definitely like it's not a good movie, but it's not a
I
boring
loved
one.
it. I thought it was
It's
so much fun when it came
yeah.
out. Like when I was what I think I was like 14 or 13. I don't know. I loved it. I thought it was so
Yeah.
much fun.
And I think that actually, like speaking of Cursed, that was sort of the reason why it was so difficult to get Wes Craven to come back because of all the shit that he had to put up with the Weinsteins on Cursed. It like really
Yeah.
like when Scream 4 was first announced and all that stuff, everyone was like, okay, we've got like Nev back, we've got David, Courtney, Kevin. Like they were announcing the names, but Wes Craven was like the holdout, and everyone was like, when is Wes Craven going to join? When is Wes Craven going to join? And clearly, like he must have gotten like a huge payday for this because it's like he knows what it's going to be dealing with these people and the shit that's going to go on. And I mean, he probably negotiated a really good paycheck for himself. And they obviously made him work for it because of like, what we know about the production. But good for him. And shitty to have worked in that situation. Wes Craven, by the way, so he has a cameo in every one of his Scream movies. In the first one, he's obviously Fred the janitor. In the second one, you can see him as a doctor in the hospital scene where
Hmm.
when Mickey's like walking out and the cop's like, "Thank you," and then he goes to Hallie and says, "That was the easiest interview of my crime-filled life," or whatever. Like you see Wes Craven in that hallway. And then in three, Wes Craven is obviously the tourist that walks by with Jay and Silent Bob. And here the scene that Wes Craven cameoed in was deleted, but it was the scene at Jenny's house the next day. He's the coroner.
Oh, okay. Yeah, when the like, when Marty's hanging from the ceiling and Jenny's that scene and Jenny's tied to the chair.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And you just see the coroner kind of look back. That's Wes
Oh, I
Craven
didn't even
there.
notice him. I didn't even notice him
Yeah,
today when I watched it.
yeah. Adrian is asking, "What are you drinking, Tim?"
Oh, it's so delicious. Oh my goodness. I like anything artificial strawberry. So, this is sparkling ice lifesavers strawberry.
Who's not
Um,
who's not paying for this ad right now?
yeah, no,
Yeah.
I wish because the way I drink these, like they should pay me,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, and one thing I love about this movie is like the bloopers that like are I don't know if like I don't know I
Mm.
remember this movie's bloopers more than any of the other movies bloopers and like
Yeah.
so one of my favorite bloopers is when Kirby is like opening the closet door and like they scare her like someone from the crew is just like ah like as soon as she opens the closet door
Hmm.
I find that so funny and they did it
Yeah.
to Marnie too when Marnie does her little chase scene in the kitchen and she runs out they like scare her too and so those
Yeah.
bloopers always stood out to me I find them so funny.
I always love the one of just like Gail trying to, or Courtney trying to get the, where is the circle jerk taking place? And just like
Yes,
every
and
time
Nev
just like
couldn't
can't
handle
do
it.
it.
Nev is
Yeah.
like, like you see Nev is trying so hard to like keep it in, and she just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Hmm.
where's this circle jerk happening? She could not get it
Where's
out.
this circle jerk taking
Yeah,
place?
circle
Yeah.
jerk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That's wild. Yeah, and I guess that's kind of like the segue into the second half of the movie, like with the cinema club scene. And this like I don't know, this kind of bothers me with about Scream 4 is, just like comparative to at least like Scream 1 and 2. I know that Scream 3 is sort of like working on like an alternate sort of like it's not doing the same structure
mhm,
because it takes place over like many more days. But in Scream 1 and 2, after like the night of the first attack and all that stuff, it's just like there's a lot of the film kind of like languishes in the next day, and we're just sort of like kind of like re integrating with all of the characters and like reassessing suspects and whatnot. So in Scream 1, it's just like all the stuff that happens with like when Sydney goes to school and Gail is there, and then like Stu and Tatum at the lockers and Billy and the bathroom stuff. And
mhm,
it doesn't feel like it outstays its welcome. It just feels like a very natural pace that we're going at. And then obviously in Scream 2, there's all like the wonderful stuff with um, Joel and Gail and Sydney in the play, and my
mhm,
favorite cafeteria scene,
yeah,
and Randy and Dewey and all that. And like in Scream 4, it just sort of like we have the cinema club scene, and then it goes right to that night. It's just like, okay, and then this Stabathon is happening, and then we're right there.
mhm.
And I feel like it just from that point on, the movie is like really rushes itself. And that's where I kind of like why I don't like the second half as much. Because it's just like we're in this classroom for like 2 seconds, and now we're like into the Stabathon and all that. And I get that they're having to accommodate the fact that we're having like this fake out ending at Kirby's house, and then we're gonna go to the hospital later. But I don't know. I feel like the time is not kind of like allotted in a proportionate way.
Yeah, it kind of it didn't feel like a strong first, second, third act kind of movie. It feels like there's a 2.5 and then there's like a third act and then there's a 3.5
Hmm.
because yeah it does it jumps from yeah the classroom and then I know there was a deleted scene that they cut where the boys are actually walking up to the barn and then the very next cut is like Kirby walking up to it and it's packed and there's tons of people there so yes I can
It's
see why they cut that
it's
out because it was like very
more.
quick.
Yeah, it's like someone like did they set that whole thing up? Like it's
It
making
was empty.
Sinners,
Yeah,
it's making like the setup of the juke joint and Sinners seem plausible in that short amount of time, because like what
I
they're
know.
doing here is like
But they did
crazy.
way more for the Stabathon. They did way more for the Stabathon in way
Oh
less
yeah.
time. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
it,
went
it, it was insane.
nuts. And like I love like they had the mannequin of Tatum sticking out of the wall, like sticking out of the
Mhm.
door. They had like tons of stuff all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you have like do you think that that would be a fun party to be at?
Oh my God, I wrote that in my notes. I was like, the Stabathon looks fun. Like I would love
Yeah.
to be there. I would love to like I don't know, just like such a where I've never experienced an event like that where everyone in the school is a huge horror movie fan and like
Yeah.
everyone's like that diehard, like word for word
Yeah.
quoting the movies. I'm like everyone in the school is like that obsessed. I guess it's because it takes
Yeah.
place in Woodsboro. That makes sense.
I don't even know you, but I dislike you already.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate that they didn't get to Like it literally ended as soon as it started because like it was still on the opening scene of the first movie by the time shit went down.
I
So,
know. I
to
wish we
get
could have
like
seen even more of
7
it.
movies and I really okay, so I don't know what the situation will be with Scream 7. It seems like they're not really focusing on stab in that, which
Hmm.
I'm perfectly fine with because I hate stab. I hate the concept of stab and how it sort of like overtook the Scream franchise. But
Hmm.
I I wish that like we had new footage. Like I that's one thing I appreciate about Scream 5 is that we did get
Hmm.
the new footage, but I would have loved to have seen Parker Posey come back and just like have a
Yeah.
scene as Gail in Stab 2 or even the
Hmm.
first one or just get something extra.
Well, because
Um
I even wondered like what they were filming in Scream 3. Like I don't know if I mentioned this when we did that
yeah,
episode, but like when they were
you did.
filming all those, yeah, they were filming those like flashback episodes,
Yeah.
those flashback scenes. Like, I wonder what they were doing in those scenes. Um,
Yeah, I mean, but that movie never came to fruition, so
True. So no one
it's
ever saw it.
no, yeah, that's too bad for
Um,
them.
Rebecca's chase scene, very cool. Oh yeah, no, that already happened. So we're at the Sabathon,
Yeah.
and I like how Gail's camera situation kind of calls back to Randy, like the behind you
Hmm.
situation.
I think it's
Um,
funny that, like we're in this situation and we're clearly in like a very loud, crowded barn with a movie playing, and
mhm.
Dewey is like far away outside and he yells, Gail, behind you. And she somehow hears
Yeah.
that and
I never really
turns
knew
her
if she
head.
heard it. I never really knew if she heard it or if she just happened to like turn her head at that moment.
She just her spidey senses
Like
were
she just like
going
happened to
off.
happened to turn around at that moment because I'm like I doubt she would have heard it.
Yeah.
But um and then do you think it was
Uh
Charlie that killed Kate? Because that happens kind of around the same time, the Sabathon, and then it's like right after this scene happens, I think is the next scene is
well,
when Kate dies.
the Stabathon is already over before all the stuff happens at the house with the police and with Kate and all that. I mean, like you know, my who killed who in Scream 4 predictions were always that Charlie did everything. And it's based on like the editing, it like would highly suggest that that was the case. Like the only people that Jill would have murdered were Trevor and Charlie, which would have
Mhm.
actually lined up with her account of things because she was killing them in self-defense. So
Yeah.
by the nature of what happened, and this is like a lot of this has to do with like dialogue that we hear, not just like there's deleted scenes that corroborate this even further, but Jill or Kirby comes and picks up Jill, and this happens after the Stabathon is over. But when the police, like Adam Brody, does the walk around the house and he looks up and sees the window open, Jill has already left because like that's the thing. It's like
Mhm.
Kirby would have had to come by to pick up Jill. If they're saying that like Jill was around and killed all these people, that means that Kirby would have had to come by. And then like, what is Jill like ripping off her ghost face robe and like running like, start the car.
Right.
Like what is she doing that would allow that to happen? So
It must have
it's
been
just like
Charlie.
it's very messy. We know that like some time has passed because Sydney turns on the TV and like there's already a news report about the Stabathon. But we find out like when we get to Kirby's house that like Jill and Kirby have already been there for some time, and that it was actually
Hmm.
Charlie had just arrived at the because it's like he left the door open or unlocked, and that's how like Trevor got in or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, so it's just like everything like you could go through it, but just like it doesn't make any sense for Jill to have like she was never there on the scene. It's even like confusing, and this is more of the editing that I don't like because Sydney is like right there in the kitchen, and then I like she goes out because like there's the wind chimes or whatever, but like uh the cop, Adam Brody, like walks by there. So it's just like couldn't there have at least been a scene where maybe like she saw him walk by the window and like waved at each other just to establish
Mm.
because like they're in
Yeah.
the same space at this point, but it's like it feels like they're in two totally different areas far away from each other. And then when Kate arrives, because we never see her car pull up, but we're with the cops outside and they get killed. And then Kate is like, the police were there like when I pulled up, but when I just went back to the car to get the last bag of groceries, they were gone. So it's like shit is happening like really fast, and it would suggest like maybe they were both there killing together. But one thing that's in the script that actually explains a lot is that the reflection that Sydney sees in the wind chimes is not actually the killer, but what had happened is that Charlie, in this case, would have gone and like strung up a ghost face costume on the back porch as like a diversion to like scare them or make them run to the front of the house.
Mm.
So that's
Hmm.
what they're seeing. And that's actually like that's written in the script. So it wasn't clear. Like if that was a thing, if like Sydney had run out when she runs into Judy and saw like the thing hanging there or just something like there's just all these little things that are missing that if they had just simply left in there, it would have kind of like made this a lot more coherent.
I agree. Like it feels a little bit like too convoluted with all that.
Yeah.
But it's also it seems like it would be very tricky to stick a knife through a mail slot and successfully kill somebody.
Well, I mean, because that's just that thing is like, like it just flaps open, right? So
Yeah, like it
I
pulls
think that
outwards instead of pushing in, which is cool, which is helpful. So it pulls
yeah, because like
outwards.
the mail would have to go in. So I think that she was just standing there or like sorry,
Yeah.
leaning there. So the knife would have easily gone in. I always think that that's such a funny kill. RIP Aunt Kate. But like just the way that it happens, like her like
Well, because
and
her lips are kind of puckered already, so then when she's like,
yeah.
like it's just kind of like she's kind of
But
helping the blood
but
out.
Sydney kind of being like, "What are you doing? Come on, come on!" Like
Yeah,
just not,
exactly.
yeah,
Come on, let's
yeah.
go. What are you doing?
It's it's funny. Um, and then there's the whole like, how did Sydney know where Kirby's house was? Like, how did she get there? Sort of thing. Like, there's a lot of coincidental things happening, and
And
I
one thing that you've mentioned before too is that like I feel like at least in Jill's neighborhood, like where Jill lives, it feels like just a very tight suburban neighborhood. Like it feels like there's houses right there. It feels like there's houses kind of everywhere. So
mhm.
like it's just wild that like I mean, granted in Scream 5 there was a daytime murder. You know, Judy was killed in public
Yeah,
in the daytime, but like this one it just seems so funny that two cops are killed in the street and like all this is happening. Scream, it just seems like where are all the other neighbors? And I don't know.
yeah. I
But
mean,
like even
that's
Kirby's house doesn't feel isolated. Kirby's house feels very
yeah. Well, it's
normal.
Kirby's house is definitely shot to look isolated, but it it isn't. And this is why like I just really appreciate the locations of the first movie because it's like we're out in the middle of nowhere. Like we've got like three primary like Stu's house, Casey's house, and Sydney's house, where it's even if there are neighbors nearby, that I know that for the location for Stu's and Casey's there isn't. Like those are like literally out in the middle of nowhere. But I think for Sydney's
Hmm.
house, like there is more around there, but it's shot in a way that you can't really see. Um, but I just love like the sense of dread that that adds. And yeah, like it really lends itself to these moments where you're not going to have to worry about, the reality of the situation of people, you know, being neighbors coming out and checking on what's happening. And, obviously like
Hmm.
in Halloween 1978, we've got Jamie Lee Curtis like screaming and going up to people's doors and then like turning off the lights. So I think that they're, to speak to, how people react to situations like that,
Well, that's
it could
also
be
Halloween night
realistic.
though.
Yeah.
That's
That's a good
also Halloween
point.
night.
That's a good point. I
Yeah.
mean, this
So
is
they're
this is
like
this is the anniversary of
true. They're like, oh,
yeah.
every year. Jesus Christ.
Every year this time. Um, but yeah, I think that there's also more deleted footage that takes place at Kirby's house, specifically in the backyard. And actually, I liked this shot where we're following Robbie around a little bit more, and he's looking
Hmm.
on his camera, and on the screen, there's a ghost face in the trees, which
I
obviously
like
would be
that too.
yeah, that would be Jill at this point. And he looks down and like it's gone and he's already drinking, so he's not sure what he sees. And then he turns around and he bumps into Trevor because Trevor has been sent to the backyard to help Jill find her phone. And
Hmm.
they just sort of they're like ships passing in the night, and it's this really creepy moment. But it does add to that feeling of like maybe this house is a little bit more isolated. So we lost that
Well,
for
the house I feel like is big, but it doesn't seem that big. So I'm always kind of
Mhm.
confused when Ghostface comes out of the front door to kill Robbie. Because I'm like, the living room is right back there. Like it's
Mhm.
not that big of a house.
Yeah.
So like it's always that's always a little confusing to me.
Yeah, it's like if Kirby had like just gotten up and like, peered around the corner, she would have seen all that.
Yeah. So is
Um
that, do you think that was Charlie or was
no, that
that
was definitely
Jill?
Charlie because like
Yeah.
we see he storms off and that's where he would
Hmm.
have like got into the costume. And I think at that point Jill was like taking care of Trevor or whatever the situation was. Like
Hmm.
I'll say this, like spatially and time-wise, like things are not making sense. Like there's just the killers here, as they usually do, get very
Hmm.
lucky that, things happen the way they do. But even like the way like Kirby hears something and she gets up and that's when Jill comes downstairs. But that's why I think that Jill's not the killer of Robbie because that Ghostface is still outside when Sydney comes up to the house and then
Yeah,
runs in
true. So it
after
has to
them.
be Charlie. Hmm.
But then that also begs the question, like, did Sydney pulled up to the house and she didn't see like Robbie dying in the flower bed right there? Like, because that
Right
was right
there,
outside the
literally.
door.
I know.
So there's just like there's a lot of suspension of disbelief that characters need to be completely oblivious to their surroundings in this film. Um,
I do think Trevor went upstairs, and then Jill must have knocked him out when he went up there. Because
yeah,
they say that, and then because then Jill comes down the stairs, and they're like, "Where's Trevor? He went upstairs looking for you." And Jill's like, "No, Trevor's not up there." So she
yeah.
must have knocked him out at that time, and then Charlie at some point must take him downstairs and put him in the closet.
I think when they hear when Sydney and Kirby run into each other and you hear the thump thump, that's like them bringing Trevor
Mm,
downstairs. I don't know, whatever. Like, but then they're downstairs in the basement, and then like obviously Jill and Charlie are there because they're playing the fake out. I actually
yep.
really I like that scene. I think that's one of the strongest scenes in the movie is
With Hayden.
the Hayden and just like
Hmm.
the trivia and all that. Really tense. Like they did a really good job of making it suspenseful. But I
Well, her
feel like
acting too.
like in my mind, I think that was the when I first saw this movie, because I always, want to try to guess like who are the killers going to be. And I think that I had pegged Charlie as one of them. So in that moment, I knew like, oh, there's got to be a twist to this. Like she's gonna untie him and he's gonna reveal himself as the killer. It wasn't until when Sydney goes upstairs to find Jill and Jill's gone, I was just like, oh, she's the other killer.
Ah, see, I don't remember what I thought. I don't remember,
Yeah.
like, I can't remember my first viewing of this. I remember it was when it came out, and I remember having it on DVD, but I can't remember like if I could see it coming or not. I really don't remember. But
Hmm.
but I would like to think that I didn't, that I
Yeah.
didn't see it coming. But
Yeah.
I don't know if like I don't know if you notice hair or anything, but I notice hair a lot when I'm watching movies, and I just feel like
Yeah.
Jill's hair this whole final act, like sometimes it's curly, sometimes it's not, sometimes it's loose, sometimes it's not, sometimes it's tight. It's just so funny. I'm like Jill's hair has changed throughout this entire movie. Like I don't know if it's like a continuity issue, but sometimes it's like really full
Hmm.
and curly, and sometimes it's not. So I'm like, well, they must have added a few extensions in this shot because like there's some parts at the end when it's like so thick. But
Yeah.
yeah, I liked Robbie's additional scene. Um, I really wish they left like a lot of the additional scenes in this movie. They were all
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I can't even think of anything that like off the top of my head that would get cut. There's a moment, and this is like kind of interrupts the film club thing where we see that Perkins, Anthony Anderson, is he's like I guess standing guard outside the door, and this like kid comes up, and it's the same kid who was like talking to Robbie when he's like, yeah, I'm live now or whatever, and he's like, are
mhm.
you in detention, officer? And he like kind of grabs him and yells at him, and it just feels very like out of place and out of character and like not necessary, but like for the most part there actually is a lot of stuff with the police that I kind of liked because it was sort of showing the dynamic of who Gail was to this town and what people thought about her. So, it's like at the beginning of the hospital, Gail comes up and she's trying to get a statement from Haas and Perkins, and they're just kind of like, get out of here. Like, we don't talk to press or whatever. And she's like, I'm the sheriff's wife. Like, you have to respect me. And they're just kind of
Hmm.
like, no, we don't. Or, that's not what the dialogue is, but that's kind of the idea.
Yeah, I know,
And
I
then
totally get it.
Judy comes up and like, obviously Judy is like the ringleader of like the We Hate Gail club. And then Gail like takes off and they're saying something about like I think
A
the
dark
line is
side?
like everyone has their dark side, and then Judy says, "Well, Dewey married his."
Yeah, she's like,
Yeah,
well, not yeah, not Dewey. But he married his, yeah, something like that. I'm like,
yeah,
she loves him. She's up his ass
yeah.
this entire movie.
Um, Angelica Noel says, spouting every horror movie ever shouldn't count, though, especially before Ghostface even asks the question. That was risky. Yeah, it's just like, it's like, wait to hear the full thing. I always think of like those Family Feud clips where it's like Steve Harvey will start to ask the question, and the person will like buzz in and then just be
Hmm.
like, naked grandma. And you're like, what the fuck? But yeah, it's just like Kirby was just a little overzealous there, and obviously it didn't matter if she got it right or wrong. It was all about the misdirection.
I know, I just
Um,
was, I got it right. I'm like, do you really believe this right now?
what was the question? Yeah. Adrian. Okay, I love this. Jill with her Butters moment shooting Trevor in the dick. This isn't a PF Chang's. I guess that's a South. I don't remember that South Park uh, reference, but I always look at Jill as a reference to South Park, the episode Casa Bonita. Are you familiar, Tim?
No.
So there's this whole episode, and I just feel that like because of this, like Jill is essentially based off of Eric Cartman from South Park. But in this episode, Kyle's birthday party is approaching, and they're all going to Casa Bonita, which is a real restaurant that exists in
Hmm.
Colorado. Apparently, it like closed down, but the creators of South Park bought it and opened it up because they loved it so much. So it's like currently running. But they're all going to this restaurant, and because Kyle is allowed to invite three of his friends, and Cartman's all like, "Oh yeah, Casa Bonita," and Kyle says, "Who said I was inviting you?" And he's like, "Well, I'm one of your friends." He's like, "No, you're not." So like you're always ragging on me for being a Jew, so fuck you. So the Cartman finds out that Butters has been invited instead of Kyle. So
Hmm.
Cartman takes it upon himself to lead Butters out of town into a bomb shelter because he says that like there's a meteor or whatever hitting the earth, and it's Butters' responsibility to live on so he can repopulate the earth, but he has to stay in this bomb shelter for like 7 days or whatever. Like, do not come out until after this. So Butters acquiesces, and then the next thing we know, the town is like, Butters is missing and yada yada. So everyone like is trying to find him. They're worried. They postpone the birthday party, which just like fucks with Cartman's plan because like he was told that if Butters can't make it, then he can like fill in for his spot. But anyway, it finally gets to the last moment. Nobody has found Butters. They're going to Casa Bonita, and Butters leaves the shelter and she's discovered by someone. And then word gets back to like the parents and the authorities, and they're just about to get into the Casa Bonita restaurant. And Kyle's mom gets a phone call of what Cartman did. And instead of just sort of like accepting it and just being like, yeah, I did this, Cartman like goes on this speed run through Casa Bonita, which is like it's like a theme park restaurant. Like there's all these like there's like a smuggler's cove and there's like cliff divers and like all this stuff. And he just goes through all of it and just so indulgently. And it always reminds me of Jill, like especially at the end of Scream 4 here. Because he jumps off of this like waterfall and he's just laying in the water and the cops are like, "Well, kid, you lost all your friends, you made a town panic for a whole week, and you're going to juvenile hall. Was it worth it?" Totally. And it just gives me that Jill vibe of her in the hospital at the end, just being like, like Jill, you're never gonna get away with it. And she's just like she's digging herself this hole. It's like everyone knows that she's the killer at this point, but
Yeah,
she's
at this
just going
point,
to she's just like, I just need to see this through. I just need to get my 15 minutes or whatever. And it's just like the delusion of it all. Um, so I feel that in a way, like Jill kind of died happy because I think that in her mind, she at least felt that she succeeded.
Well, she died within her 15 minutes of fame.
Yeah.
So,
The movie ends proper with like all of the reporters just being like a local
hmm.
hero. Yeah, yeah, yeah. She just doesn't get to enjoy that like seeing the accolades of that and I guess like getting the fruits of her labor, as it were.
I know. I kind of wish that this movie could have ended the way that Wes Craven wanted it to, with it
Mm,
carrying over to Scream 5, his original ideas for Scream 5, with like
yeah.
her getting away with it. I would have actually kind of liked that if they were able to go right along with the Scream 5. But I understand why they had to film this whole ending just in case, and then they ended up not going along with Scream 5. So,
Hmm.
I would have
Yeah, I
liked
know
that
that.
though.
Yeah, that was definitely like it was like Sydney survived or whatever, and it sort of like ends on this cliffhanger of like
Yeah,
like what they
I
essentially
would have
did for
liked
the
it.
hospital when Jill thinks that Sydney was killed, and Dewey's like, well, she might pull through situation, and I I know like a lot of people, I think you're one of them, like consider Jill to be the best Ghostface killer. Is that
I
right?
like. I don't know if the best, but
Yeah.
she's up there with for me. Yeah.
I enjoy her antics, but I think she's far from being a competent or good killer. And this is with outside of the realm of like you have to have killed a bunch of people to be considered a good Ghostface killer. You know, my favorite Ghostface killer, or like
Is
one of two,
Mickey.
is well Mrs.
Oh,
Loomis,
oh, Miss Loomis. Yes.
who just has
Hmm.
Randy as a
Hmm.
kill. But like with Jill, I always hear like the argument like Jill was the closest to getting away with it, and I so disagree with that because everything that we see with Jill is like she was incapable of getting away with it because she was just way too sloppy. Like she would like first thing that happened, she's telling this lie, like she's compounding this lie where she's like, "Well, we're gonna have matching wounds." Like she's just saying more shit than she needs to. That it's
Yeah.
like Gail had already pieced it together before Jill even realized that like, "Oh shit, I have to take care of Sydney." So I think that just with who Jill was as a person, because she's so like braggy about things, that at some
Hmm.
point, even if it didn't happen here, she would have like been out at a nightclub or something
And
in
slipped up.
enjoying her fame and then being like, guess what I did to get all of this? Like she would just say it to someone,
Hmm.
and this is actually like a real life story. They made a movie about it. I think it's called Stuck with Mina Suvari, and it's about a real life thing. This woman hits a homeless man with her car, and he's
Hmm.
wedged in the windshield, and she drives home and just lets him bleed out because she doesn't want to
Oh
like
my
she doesn't want to
God.
go to jail or whatever. It's just easier for him to die, and then she can deal with the body later. But then this like in real life, this woman was out partying at a club, and she told people about this, and then those
Hmm.
people went and reported her, so then she went to jail.
Oh my God.
So that's what I think Jill would have done.
I feel like for a majority of the movie, besides the whole convo that she has with Sydney, where she's like, I don't know if I could do it the way you do. Like, how do you handle all the pressure? Like that scene, I feel like makes it a little bit obvious that maybe she's got a secret motive going on, because it just seems a little
Yeah.
coy, a little naive.
Yeah.
Um, but I do like that she was able to have like a completely, even when she's with her friends, and so like she played it very good girl, very girl next door, very
Yeah.
boring. Like she played it very, yeah, almost boring, so that she could go unnoticed. So I
Yeah.
wonder if once she became famous, would her personality have changed? Would she become like a superstar? Would she try to act like that meek, like what she perceives Sydney to be in the public? Would she try to be like that, like soft survivor? Or would she get too big of a head on her shoulders
Yeah.
and, like you're
I
saying,
mean,
let it slip?
this is why I think like that version of Scream 5 would have been really interesting because I could see the duality of that and just like her kind of, like in front of the cameras and whenever anyone is around, just being like, oh, and then like door closes, she has her Disney villain like, and
Yeah.
I think that she would probably be very like abusive to the help. I feel like any if she had like an agent
Mm.
or like a the publicist or whatever,
Publicist. Yeah.
she would probably like throw things at them and like scream. Like she would be a
Hmm.
terror behind the closed doors. And I think eventually like that reputation would catch up with her. But I feel like she would not have any genuine relationships or connections in her life. And maybe there'd be someone
Mm.
that she thought was, and that's where she could like she would slip up. But like even if she didn't, I don't think that maybe she wouldn't like openly admit to doing something, but I feel like people would start to catch on, like especially people following the media would start to catch on to like the lies and just being like, well, that doesn't add up with this and that doesn't add up with that. So,
I just love there's something that happens like when she like stabs Sydney and when she like finally decides herself, okay, now it's time for me to make this believable. Like there's
mhm,
something that I can see in her face and it's so good on Emma Roberts' part. I just like the acting is so good in that scene where she like knows, okay, here we go. Like now I have to she removes all the fingerprints. She like stabs herself in the shoulder. She smashes her face into the paint picture and
mhm,
then she throws herself through the glass. And I just love that whole scene.
yeah,
I think that's one of my favorite scenes of like all the reveals because
mhm,
it just shows the lengths that she'll go to, and it's a completely different person than what she was for the rest of the movie. So
yeah.
I love that.
And that's why it works so well. Um, when you first saw this, did you think that Sydney was like that was it for her?
No,
Yeah,
I feel like I will never ever think that Sydney is gonna die. I
yeah,
just feel like she's the one character that her and Jennifer Love Hewitt. I feel like I never have to worry about dying because Jennifer Love Hewitt
mm,
let it slip in an interview like years ago that she promised her grandmother that she would never die in a horror movie.
mm.
So that's why I even knew going into this slop 2025 that she wasn't gonna die because I was like,
Yeah.
well, she
Well, I think
promised her
that she even,
grandmother.
I think, yeah, she'd even said like impressed beforehand.
Hmm.
I think that like Scream 3, we talked about this a few episodes ago, that that was the only time that it really felt like she was in any sort of danger. It, Jill falls into like kind of like the classic Ghostface mistake of like let your accomplice take care of Sydney before you like start doing the whole monologue thing and like all that because like I guess like that's part of like Jill's downfall is that she just had to like show off to Sydney so much like look what I'm gonna do and all this because like if sh at the very least like if she didn't want to get her hands dirty with Sydney herself because she just sort of stabs like she stabs her I guess when she first like before she pulls off the mask because it's
Hmm.
almost like Sydney runs into a knife or something. It's very unclear what
All
happens
the
there.
stabbings are kind of
Yeah.
irrelevant. Like she,
Yeah.
none of them are fatal.
And then yeah, she just stabs her once and it's one of those things where it's just like Charlie, kill Sydney right now and then we're gonna do our thing. And that like, maybe she would have at the very least like succeeded in killing Sydney at that moment. But that I feel is like the fatal flaw. Like it's Mrs. Loomis's fatal flaw in Scream 2 of just not letting like waiting until she's or like killing Mickey before she does the whole thing because it just would have made more sense to just do that, let Mickey kill them, and then kill Mickey.
Yeah, I was like, well, the fatal flaw is always having a monologue at the end.
Yeah.
Like I, if they really wanted to get the job done, they would just kill Sydney when they have the chance to, and then like not have any monologue and never actually talk about it ever again.
We need a killer who's
Um,
just like very like
it'll be the
just
most boring movie ever.
short with their words or whatever. Just like I'm doing this because I don't like you.
An
Like
extreme
just done. Yeah.
introvert that like has not much to
Yeah.
say at all and just
Yeah.
wants to kill.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, could have a huge reason, but just doesn't want to talk about
Yeah.
it.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, so and I I think it's because I really would have I don't love the whole hospital scene. I feel like that's when the movie kind of feels like it's going on a little too long.
Yeah.
I like that Jill's pretending. I love that that fakeness when as soon as Dewey leaves, you see that she's like wide awake and she's like, okay, I have to handle this.
Hmm.
I love that. But yeah, then the whole like it just feels like it goes on a little too
But
long.
that's what I feel like. That's what I think the Scream 5 would have been. It's just like a lot of shifting back and forth between those two versions of herself and constantly,
Well, I think it was like she's supposed to be getting stalked in that movie. So like I don't know, I would have loved to
yeah.
see a scene of like her on a talk show and like she's like all like innocent and then she goes back to her dressing room and she like takes out her microphone and she's like oh like all like a bitch again and she's like looking at herself like fuck this so annoying and like
And the
takes out
microphone
some
is
hair
still
extensions.
attached, so everyone
Yeah,
heard it.
that would be cool. But then
Yeah.
like she like but then there's something in her dressing room like a note or like something from the killer that like I know who you
Mhm.
really are. I don't know.
So
That
just
could be
like
so fun.
a combination of Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer.
What part of I knew last summer?
Well, the note.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
Duh. Come
Yeah.
on.
I was thinking like I don't know. set. But
Hmm.
yeah, so that would have been really cool.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, I get like the way that I tolerate the hospital scene is everything I just explained of like how it just reminds
Mhm.
me of like Eric Cartman. But it's the movie feels incomplete in a sense that it's never really clear who the main focus is of just like who is our protagonist because it sort of shifts from Gail to Sydney to Jill, and it's
Hmm.
never really like kind of honed in on one of them. uh, Sydney, Gale, and Dewey have no transformation in this movie. They are the same people that they are from the beginning of the movie to the end. And if you think about, in Scream 1, Sydney's life is completely different from the start of that movie to the end of it. Scream 2, she undergoes another transformation. Same with Scream 3. It's like her life is altered in a very meaningful or impactful way in those movies. And in this one, it's like it was all just sort of like a minor inconvenience. Like people died, and that sucks and all, but it's just like she's not to quote what's her face, but it really is just sort of we're back to square one and nothing really changes here. And there is I don't know if you stayed around and watched this because after the credits there is a
Yes.
yes, so it's
I
the
was like, ah.
scene which I actually really appreciate because I it always bothered me with Scream 4 how it just sort of ends, and I mean it ends more on Jill because it's like they're talking about her, we're like on her face
Hmm.
as it's like pushing in, and I feel like what became of the trio? Where are they in life? Like we didn't really see where things ended up. So there's kind of like I guess like would you call it a denouement or a button?
I just had a post-credit scene.
Yeah. Do you want to describe what happens in it?
Well, I love that we see Judy, Gail, and Dewey, and I forgot what I forgot what Gail says to Judy, but it made me laugh. And like Judy's
Hmm.
like, "Promise."
Hmm.
I forgot what she said, but that made me laugh. And then they walk into Sydney's hospital room, and they have a cute little scene, um, about writing a book, and then like maybe we'll write a book together, and then like, nah.
Nah.
Um,
Well, David Arquette is really good in this scene because like Sydney's like, "How's your head?" He has this bandage on his
oh, that
head,
was cute,
and
and
he's
he's
like,
blank.
"What? What?"
Yeah,
And he's like, "Nah, I'm just kidding."
that was actually really
Um,
funny. Yeah, that was really
yeah,
funny.
but essentially it's a nice little scene because it doesn't really have anything to do with anyone, but it's just sort of like there's like a hopefulness about it that like everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that just in terms of like where the movie ends proper, because we don't really know like what is going on with them. Like, all we see with Sydney is like she's, you know, on the floor and she's sort of like looking at Jill and I forget what the line. It's just like something about like it may as well have just been like you wouldn't have liked it here anyway. But that's not what it is. But that kind of thing
Mhm.
where like I know that Sydney's going to be fine, but I would have liked to see that she was like that they would have like there's a future moving forward. And that's what this, I guess, post-credit scene offered.
Imagine she like calls Mark and she's like, "Hey, how's our baby?
Yeah.
How's our little baby that we have
Jo
there apparently,
Joel
allegedly."
McHale, yeah. Oh God. Yeah. You ranked this is pretty high for you. This is like your third.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
Scream 2, Scream 1, Scream 4.
Yeah.
So third.
Um Yeah, this is fourth place for me. And specifically, like I, I think like this is the version I prefer to see, and I know that
Oh, I
whenever
loved this version.
yeah, whenever this is like the preferred way to watch it. And I know that sucks that I can't like, yeah, I know that there was one on YouTube at one point a few years ago. It might have been taken down or something, but even if you can't, just watch the movie and then just watch the additional scenes later if you can find them on YouTube or if you have like the physical media or
Hmm.
or whatnot. But we're still waiting for a 4K to be released.
Yeah.
And it would be cool if they like patched it all together because it's like that's essentially like I've seen them do this like posthumously for filmmakers, or even if the filmmaker is still alive, where they will kind of recut the movie, and some uh, like physical media distributors will release that version and call it the director's cut. Like Raising Cain is a really good example of this, where there was like for the longest time there was a fan edit that like correctly restructured the acts so that
Mm.
the movie was what Brian De Palma initially had conceived it to be, but then he kind of changed his mind for the film theatrically and regretted it. But then this came out and he endorsed it. He's like, "Yeah, this is my preferred version." So that when Scream
Mm.
Factory put it out, they included both versions just to have it. So it'd be cool if whoever has like the rights to Scream 4 when they release it on 4K would do that, because that is the way that Wes Craven prefer to have it without all these scenes taken out that add so much context.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's actually also been discussions about when they re-release it, should they take off the filter? But then they were saying, well, that's how Wes Craven wanted it though. He wanted it to have
Yeah.
this filter on it. So
The thing is
yeah.
that with that is like, I mean, that would be very expensive
Yeah.
because they would have to get all the negatives. They would have to then like someone would have to be a deciding factor, and it might end up being like a committee of people. This is never going to happen. I would be so shocked if this happened, but they'd
Yeah.
have to get a committee of people to decide what is it going to look like. And I guarantee that whatever a committee decides is going to look awful. It's going to look like what everything looks
Yeah.
like today with like a hazy, like it's going to have an even, the filter might not be as bad, but it's still, it's not going to have that look. I think that I've kind of embraced the way that this movie looks in
Yeah.
terms of what it is, and the scenes where it kind of jumped back to the stuff that wasn't added in, those actually didn't have the the filter on it, if you noticed.
I didn't even
So
notice. No.
yeah,
But
they're
everyone just looks very beautiful in this movie. Like, even like
yeah.
Hayden Panettiere, like when she's like crying and she has her dramatic scene. Like I love it. I was like, "God, she
Hmm.
looks stunning." Like everyone in this movie just looks so flawless. So I feel like it just kind of
Hmm.
goes along with that
Yeah.
vibe.
Is this the most beautiful cast, are you saying?
Everyone just is just very made up. Everyone's in dresses, everyone's in heels,
Hmm.
everyone's like business casual, everyone's like, hair curled and down and full and like
Yeah.
extensions put in. It just looks the most like made up movie, especially
Yeah,
after
like
three, which
definitely.
is a lot more toned down.
Well, yeah, three's a little eclectic, like especially with Gail's wardrobe. But
Hmm.
yeah, I think in terms of like what you were saying with like Kirby's attire and like Kirby's like has a much more mature look
She
than
has
the
like a
other
corset. She has like
characters.
a corset ribbed like top with a
Hmm.
like it looks very sexy. Like it's almost like
Hmm.
what not the same kind of corset, but very similar to like something that like Rose McGowan wore in Jawbreaker, like that like
You're
corset
right.
top with like a sweater over it, like but except it was
Yeah.
a blazer.
But
Um
I get what you mean. Like everything, it's almost like it's we're going to the MTV Movie Awards, so everyone
yeah.
get all like made up for that. Whereas like I think that like for 5 and 6, like everyone feels like they're made up more naturally.
Yeah.
And in 3, um, I don't know, because it's strange because it is like all Hollywood and stuff, but I always see like 1, 2, and 3, like it has like a very consistent visual
Yeah,
identity.
very cohesive.
Whereas like 4, 5, and 6 all feel very different in their own right. And I'm sure like 7 is going to do that as well, which I don't like. Like I wish that it would just pick one lane and stick to it. But there's speaking of like the costumes in this movie, there's a lot of I guess callback. Like we see Trevor in like his final scene, he's wearing the same clothing as Neil Prescott in
The
Scream 1.
exact outfit to the point where like it's a little like weird. You're like,
And
why are you even wearing this outfit?
Charlie even says like look familiar uh when he pulls him out of the closet as well.
It's like, hey, that
Jill,
outfit was really popular in like the 90s. Why are you wearing that
yeah.
now?
Yeah. Jill is wearing the plaid, which is supposed to be like the
The
Billy
Billy.
Loomis of it
Hmm.
all. Robbie's got like he has a jacket on, but he's got like that sort of green uh thing that like Randy is
Randy.
wearing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
And then
what
I
do
was
you
gonna
make of
say
like the plaid theory?
the plaid theory, I think it has some merit to it. I think, well, it
Mhm.
definitely did, I believe, in this one. But I mean, I know what's her name in the Scream 7 trailer, McKenna Grace. I think she's wearing a plaid skirt, but
Right.
but then I also think that this newest trailer, I won't say what it is, but I think we might see her, um, in a way that would mean that she's not the killer, um,
Well, I think that like
dangling.
plaid is so we have Jerry O'Connell, he's wearing plaid in Scream 2. He's not the killer.
Yeah.
Um there might have been like there's another instance I can't remember, but it's just like we've seen plaited characters before, and it doesn't necessarily mean that they are the killer. So,
But
and
wasn't
like
it done on
specifically
purpose this
blue,
time with Jill?
I feel like there definitely was
This
intention.
was, yeah, this time
Yeah,
I think it was on purpose.
with this movie. Um and there probably was for Scream 5 as well. But I don't really buy into it. And at this point, if they keep doing that and everyone's like, blue plaid, that's the killer, it's just like, okay, whatever. They should just make a Scream movie and
Well,
everyone's wearing blue plaid.
literally.
Yeah.
The Billy Blue plaid.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Billy Blue.
Billy Blue. Is
Well,
that the
no,
Ray of
yeah.
yeah.
Well, no. So what's funny is uh, when the worst movie in the world came out last year, I knew it last summer.
Okay.
When it came out and everyone was like fan theories were coming out and about whatever who is who. I even said I was like, well, just looking at their outfits, like Stevie, she kind of looks like she's wearing like the same outfit that the killer in the original wore. Like I don't know that denim shirt, that
Oh,
denim
okay.
and I was like that never came out to be like a factor in anything, but then of course whoever's seen that movie knows who she ended up being in that movie. So sometimes like yeah, so I noticed that just from like just her outfit. I feel like she might be a killer.
Yeah.
I don't even care
I
about
just think
spoiling that
it
movie. Fuck that movie.
in general, I feel that the wardrobe kind of like takes a dip, like in terms of like where things were from one to three, because Sydney's look does not feel like Sydney. Like
No, it feels very
it
2011.
it feels well, it feels like
The
I can
dress.
see with the first thing we see her that sort of like magenta thing when she's in the bookshop that
The
maybe that's
dress.
something, yeah,
The
that
skin tight bodycon dress is a yeah, like it's a very tight dress with the platform heels.
yeah, that's something that like Rebecca might have been like, you have to wear this, and we even see
Totally.
like Sydney like on like being interviewed by Nancy O'Dell or whatever when
Yeah.
Gail is watching it. Like that's not what Sydney wears typically. But then when we do see Sydney like after hours, she's not
Mhm.
like what she's wearing is not Sydney, and she's got this like really long,
Cardigan.
yeah, it's almost like it goes down to the floor, almost this like teal colored thing. And I
Yeah,
just
this
think of like I always think
it's
of
like
the
Uggs.
Incredibles, the Incredibles of just like no capes. And this is essentially a cape that she's wearing. I just see like the killer like chasing Sydney and grabbing this thing and yanking her back and it just being so inefficient.
Or like it getting caught on a door handle when she's like running through, like you know how like,
Right? Yeah.
it's like tugs like the pocket. Um, yeah, no, it doesn't. It because she's always in a leather jacket
Yeah.
or you know, a
Yeah,
hoodie.
Amethyst is saying Rebecca said something awful at the beginning, and Sid just kind of laughs it off and says, "Nice." That didn't seem like Sydney either. I guess that would have been like, how did you manage this, like this book display or whatever?" And Rebecca said, "I told the owner if he didn't get it right, I'd kill his cat."
Oh, and then
Yeah.
Sydney's like, haha.
Well,
Um,
she wasn't like nervous laughing about it. She was actually like, ah, like,
I don't remember actually at
they,
all.
yeah, it seemed like this relationship between the two of them like turned very quickly at the hospital when she's just like, all those downtrodden little fucks, you just got to get the word out. It's just like, excuse me, have you even read my book?
Well, it's funny because like
No.
Rebecca wants Sydney to be exactly what Jill wants. Like she wants Sydney to be this victim for life, whereas
Yeah.
that's not what Sydney wants at all, which is what makes Sydney a hero.
Yeah.
And Jill is like, if anything, Jill needs to hire Rebecca. They'd be a perfect pair.
Yeah.
Jill and Rebecca working together because Jill wants that. She wants to be a
Yeah.
victim for life.
And it's funny because like there was really no point in the killers taking out Rebecca because Sydney had already fired her, like she was out of town.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't realize that at the time, but yeah, uh, Jill would have worked better with Rebecca than Gail, obviously.
But that was also so slimy of Rebecca to answer the phone and say, I'm handling every Miss
Yeah,
Prescott's calls and appearances because like, no, you're not. So now you would she would have missed out on a great opportunity. Whatever this phone call was, what if it was like a big like opportunity? Like Sydney would have missed out
yeah.
on it. Or I
Well, I
guess
think
Rebecca would
that
have
that
used
might have
that.
been, yeah, that would have
Rebecca
been
would have
her
been like, guess
plan.
what? I have this great opportunity for you. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
You're right. She would have tried to
and it
get
wouldn't
her
have
job
worked.
back.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have.
I love how like when Sydney and Jill are having their little heart to heart, and Sydney's like, "I'm so sorry about Olivia," and Jill with her chocolate milk and her cheese stick is just like shrugs her shoulders and just like, "I'm sorry about your publicist." Like it's almost like
No.
that bitch too, and it's like, sure, whatever.
Well, it's almost like I'm sorry I called you that name. It's like, well, I'm sorry too. It's like, well, I'm
Yeah.
sorry that your friend's dead. Well, I'm
I'm
sorry that your friend's
sorry that you're
dead.
sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just trying
Oh.
to play along with the game.
No, I'm sorry that your friend's dead.
Hmm. Well, righty. I think that now is probably a good time to get to the cherry picker.
It's not like we kill people on purpose.
All right. Last week we asked you who deserves to die the most in Misery. I nominated State Trooper Sherman Douglas. Tim, you nominated Annie Wilkes. Across Patreon, Instagram, and YouTube. The final tally was 85 for Sherman Douglas versus 391 for Annie Wilkes.
I see. I can't even feel good about this one because I feel like she's the killer. So it's like
Yeah,
she did deserve to die.
that's
So
fair.
I got lucky by saying it first. That's all.
Well, I don't know. Some people might disagree with you. Adrian Phillips, it's a shame that Annie is an option because she's just so entertaining to watch. She did what she did, though, so I have to pick you. Blue Box, how dare you pick Annie? Have you all got amnesia? So Annie killed a few babies, I know that, Mr. Man. There is a justice higher than that of Tim, and she will be judged by him. The state trooper didn't do his job properly, leading to Buster being by himself when he found Paul. There's a chance he would have been found and rescued earlier and Annie sent to jail. Can you imagine that trial? Because these days it's all about the trial. Could you see it? The effects of crappy romance novels on society. That went all over the place
It
with
did.
references there.
That was
Very
fun.
nice. Mende Hito. I can't look at Kathy Bates as Annie anymore without thinking of Bag of Chips as Kathy on Drag Race.
Yes, every time.
But
Have you
Annie
seen
is my
it?
pick. No.
Oh my, you have to. It's so
Yeah.
funny. Such a funny impression.
Yeah. Victoria, Annie, please look up Kathy Bates in the Evil Grandma commercials. She's also great on Matlock. Jackie Simmons. Annie terrified me, yes, but what drove the nail into her coffin for me, more than the gaslighting, torture, murder, and kidnapping, was her outburst about the paper she insisted on bringing to him. Any fan as devoted as she should have known about white long-grained Mimeo. Ugh, a rube.
A
Grant
rube.
Dempsey. I haven't actually seen Misery. I was hoping to watch it to keep up with y'all, but just haven't had the chance yet. But why let that stop me from voting, eh? I know about Annie, but I'm gonna throw in an uninformed vote for the state trooper for the hell of it. And that was the correct vote, might I add, personally. And I hope that you've watched the movie since then, Grant.
And still feel the same way.
And then finally, Silent Saturn. See, this feels wrong. You did the cherry picker before the cherry on top. Annie might very well have been COT and wouldn't have been eligible for the CP. I call foul. Anyway, State Trooper it is, though cops and horror movies are low-hanging fruit at this point.
Not wrong.
Not wrong. Uh,
Not wrong at all.
no. What say you for your screamful pick of the cherries?
Pick of the cherries.
Pick of the
Um,
cherries?
so let's see. Who do I want to die from Scream 4? Who deserves to die the most, if you will? I would have to say, I don't know, kind of Kate. I think Kate. She's a crappy mom. She honestly was like such a nothing mom. She's like taking sleeping pills when there's a killer on the loose, and her daughter like has police outside, and she's like taking pills to fall asleep. And like,
Yeah.
no, you need to be alert, mom. And you died from one little silly stab wound to the back of the neck or whatever.
I don't know. That's
So
like could
I
do a lot of damage back there.
Yeah,
That's like
whatever.
all your
I know I
vital,
regret
your,
saying that,
yeah, your
but yeah, I
spine,
think I'm
your
gonna say Kate because I don't think she was great. She wasn't great, Kate.
Valentine,
Yeah.
which came out 25 years ago today of this recording.
Oh, love
Yeah.
that movie.
I need to watch it again for
Sorry,
my
dude.
annual Valentine's Day celebration of being single and watching movies that I've seen a
Mm.
million times over. I am going to take a page out of your book and I'm going to nominate Jill
Yeah, just nominate the
because
killer.
she is everything that's wrong with everything and everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how entertaining she is. I am more entertained at this point by her downfall. I love the character, but as a killer, not so much the persona of the sweet doting girl next door. But no, she's an asshole, and she's not
Yeah.
very good at not getting caught. Which it's not just my belief. Like you watched the movie, Gail had her pegged within 2 seconds. So I think for all those reasons, fuck you, Jill Roberts. You are getting the chop, uh, hopefully this week.
You will probably win that one. I bet more than her mom.
We'll see. We'll see. People might hate Kate more. Uh, and cherry on top. What are we thinking?
I think I would have to say Hayden Panettiere Kirby just because I
Hayden.
love Scream 4 Kirby. I love
Mhm.
the version of Kirby that we get in Scream 4. She's like energetic. She's like I mean we're introduced to her almost killing Dewey. So like I just driving by super
Yeah.
fast. And I think that's supposed to be like the telltale of who she is. She's this like
Hmm.
beautiful little firecracker. So I love her.
I would agree. The only one that would come close for me would be Gail.
Yeah.
Uh, just not all of Gale in this movie, but just like, the Gale that I talked about that like really was the driving force for at least like the first half of it.
Yeah. I could see
But
that too.
mhm. All righty. Well, vote your heart, vote your conscience. You can head over to Patreon to vote. Regardless of whether you are a supporter, the poll is there for free. So if you want to double up or triple up on your votes, please do that. You can also subscribe for free on a non-tier. And that I think helps out too. Anything that you want to do to support Instagram at the Cherry Picker Pod. You'll be able to vote there. And also YouTube, there's the ability to vote here. So make sure you're subscribed. Please subscribe to us. The more the merrier. If you prefer to listen to these episodes, the RSS feed link is in the descriptions down below. Tim, where can they find you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram at Tim McKay Beauty.
Biotai. And I am on my main YouTube channel, Zach Cherry. Zach with a K, and then a space between the Zach and the Cherry. And then I am Retro Bitch Face for Instagram and Letterboxd, and Zach Cherry 8. What's going on next week?
Next week, I think we have a Scream 5.
Yeah, we're basically just doing these in order.
Yeah.
So it'll be Scream 5, and then it'll be Scream 6, and then it will be
What will it be after that?
it will be the Patreon's choice. So that's what,
Ah.
head over to Patreon and subscribe as a Freddy Krueger or higher, and you can decide the next episode after
Ooh.
Scream 6. And then when we come back in March, it'll be Scream 7, and we'll be fresh out of the theater. Anyway, Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And we will be right back.